students achieving 5 A-star to C grades in their GCSEs last year. Jackie Burnett argues if parents took more of an interest in their children's education, this could change, and is encouraging them to do so.
Get involved in schools, like becoming parent governors or set up a PTA.
Teaching Union rep Timothy Ramsden says while parents should be involved, teachers should also be trusted to do their job properly.
The European Union's called for a meeting to discuss the discovery of horse meat in food products labelled as beef. In the UK, horse meat's been found so far in burgers and ready meals, including lasagna and spaghetti bolognese. The decision by the Pope to stand down is provoking intense speculation about who might be chosen to succeed him as leader of the world's Catholics. Pope Benedict surprised even his own advisers when he announced yesterday that at the age of 85 he would resign because he was too infirm to continue his ministry. What's thought to be the world's oldest pancake race will be held in Buckinghamshire later today. It's thought the tradition began in 1445 when a woman who was late for church ran out of her house frying pan in hand. And a dog grooming shop in Hertfordshire is the first in the country, it claims, to offer pooch tattoos. The owners of Groomers on the Green in Brookmans Park came up with the idea when they were bored one day. Amanda Marshall explains what type of dog she shaved and the type of patterns they've had.
It's mainly done on short hair breeds, otherwise it won't be seen. Some people want something a bit different and snazzy, then it's for them. If it's not, then that's completely fine. Some people want things that we haven't done before, like the One Direction sort of logo.
In sport, MK Dons are away to Doncaster tonight in League One. Luke Chadwick will start, having come on as a sub in the defeat at Oldham on Saturday. As for the weather, cloudy and cold, but staying dry with a top temperature of 4 degrees Celsius, that's 39 Fahrenheit. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio, first for news.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio, 3 minutes past 6. It's Tuesday, the 12th of February. Man, it's cold, isn't it? The heating is still broken in my car and has been broken for 2 months. I took it in to get it fixed. They said, we'll get the part, come back tomorrow. And you know what it's like. The hassle of going back, so I just wear lots of jumpers and coats in the car. Never mind, lots coming up on the show this morning, including police are to get tougher powers to tackle drivers they believe are unfit to drive. It's all down to a St Albans man's campaign. We'll hear from a Bedford optometrist next about how good your eyesight needs to be to get on the road. Parents, you have to do more to help your children in school. It'll help boost GCSE results. Well, so says a Luton counsellor. She'll be in the studio before 6:30 to explain why. But how much do you think mums and dads should do? Or is it down to the schools? And a dog grooming shop in Hertfordshire is shaving patterns into pooches. Is it ever acceptable to accessorise your pet? Lots of ways to get in touch. Wow, Facebook was burning yesterday. 106 comments. Most of them attacking me, but it doesn't matter. Play nice. Some of you didn't play nice. Play nice, and it's all good fun there. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can text. Put your name on the text. 81333, starting your text 3CR. Or, and look, we have a completely empty switchboard. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, new powers have been given to police to get drivers with bad eyesight off the road following a campaign by a man from St Albans. 16-year-old Cassie McCord was killed when a car mounted the pavement. The driver had already failed a roadside eye test after an earlier crash. Her brother, Sam McCord, campaigned for police to have more powers to suspend driving licences, and now it can be done in a matter of hours. So, how many of us don't realise we shouldn't be driving because of failing eyesight? Simon Browning is an optometrist from Bedford. Morning, Simon.
Morning.
Do people come and see you and have no idea how bad their eyesight really is?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have no idea just how bad it is, and often we're seeing people whose vision is pretty much on the legal standard for driving. The problem is you immediately get the response so many times of, I only just drive around the corner, or...
that's okay then, yes.
Or I only go to the shops to drive, or I need my car to drive.
Yep.
It is a problem. The biggest problem, I think, is that people just do not understand what the requirements are nowadays.
What are the requirements? What's the limit? I'm assuming with your eye charts, if they can't read beyond a certain line, they shouldn't be driving. Is that how it works?
Well, the official limit was just literally the number plate test. We're one of the few countries in Europe who are still very lax on all this sort of thing, and it's the ability to read a number plate test at a certain distance, and therein lies the problem. If you ask most people what that distance is, most people don't know what the distance is, and in actual fact quite often underestimate that distance and therefore have a sort of false sense of confidence. Most people listening now, if I said to them just quickly, what is that distance, they probably wouldn't know.
I'm going to say 50 metres. That's a complete guess.
No, it's actually less than that.
Right, okay.
With the modern style number plates, the sort of post-2001, it's actually 20 metres.
Oh, okay.
And with the old style number plates, it's 20.5 metres.
Oh.
And that's in good daylight with a clean number plate and all these other factors. But you see, that's incredibly variable. And what the DVLA actually did last year was they, for the first time ever, equated it to a line on the letter chart.
Right.
And that's what we call the 612 line, which, I mean, if anybody knows the letter chart, you've got the big letter at the top and then they get gradually smaller as they go down. It's the fourth line down on a chart.
Okay.
And when you say to most people it's that line, they say, wow, that's easy to do, which is quite reassuring. But obviously, it just goes to show that the vision can be quite bad and still have people driving.
Now, obviously, you can't take away people's driving licences, but if you have someone who's has driven in, do you say to them, I'm not sure you should be driving, mate?
Absolutely. If we have somebody who is below the legal standard for driving or is right on that borderline, then we have to advise them of that. We cannot sort of phone up the DVLA and say this person shouldn't be driving or anything like that because of obviously patient confidentiality.
Right, okay.
But all we can do is advise the patient. In extreme circumstances, we can inform the GP, and again, the GP is in the same position as we are, that they cannot breach patient confidentiality unless in extreme cases it is effectively in the public interest and in the interest of that patient who is basically unsafe.
How do they react when you say, listen, I don't think you should be driving, sir?
Invariably not happy.
Right.
Over the years, they've become reliant on their cars, and especially in sort of areas like we live in here where there's a lot of rural villages and things, people, especially elderly people, live in these villages and they do need some form of transport to get around, and they're very reliant on their cars. But again, it's this denial that we all have in terms of vision that as I say, I only use it on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock or something like that, as if the rest of the world knows that they should get out of the way.
And I suppose people as well, I know my mum, when my mum's eyesight was going, she was like Donald Pleasance in The Great Escape, where she kind of built up a defence mechanism and sort of little cheats where she would know exactly where the remote control, she would know where things were and little things that she would do so it would look like, or it would appear that her eyesight was fine.
Yeah, I think one of the problems with a lot of people is that eyesight goes slowly over the years. And, I mean, one of the things that our profession has campaigned for a long while now with the Department for Transport is compulsory vision checks. Again, we're one of the few countries in Europe that doesn't have compulsory checks. If you think about it, you have to prove you can read a number plate at 17 years old, and you don't have to do anything at all after that until the age of 70. There's no requirement there. It is all self-certification. I mean, how many people out there have actually bothered to inform the DVLA when they know they've got a vision problem? Maybe they lose an eye in an accident or something like that. Do they inform the DVLA? It's not that common at all.
Do you welcome this change to the law giving the police these powers?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, in the Cassie case, it was a tragic accident, and the police had actually told this person not to drive, but they could not take him off the road instantly. But again, it's a start. It's a move in the right direction. The problem is that actually, how often do people check a driver's vision at the scene of an accident? If you've ever attended the scene of an accident, it's a very traumatic situation. And the last thing that people often do is pull somebody out of the car and say, and just read the number plate over there.
Yeah.
And, we have evidence within our profession of, again, we have another one of an elderly person who actually had macular degeneration and killed somebody whilst driving. It wasn't until later, quite a lot later, that he informed a probation officer that he basically had very poor vision. But until that point, nobody had ever asked him a question about his eyesight. Okay. So, vision testing does take place, but it's a very random thing, and really we need to have compulsory testing.
Simon, listen, I appreciate you coming in at this ridiculous time of the morning. How's business going? You got a busy day ahead of you?
I have a full day ahead of me, yes.
Excellent stuff. Simon Browning, thank you so much for coming in. 08459 455 555 is the phone number. It's an odd song, this, isn't it? I don't quite understand the premise behind it. Let's not delve too deeply into the lyrics of Laura Branigan, but where on earth is Laura Branigan now? That's the question on everyone's lips, I think. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Coming up, we have a challenge for our reporter, Sophie Sileria. She literally has no idea what's going on. I know that's generally her kind of usual state of mind, but she has even less idea what's going on this morning. We'll find out more in a bit, but before that, 6:15 is the travel news with Sophie Tyler.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. Well, not looking too bad out there at the moment. No major problems to update you with. All moving fairly nicely out there on the sensors at the moment, actually. Motorways in particular are looking good. And the M25 down the western stretch, not looking too bad at all. Actually does seem to be coping fairly well. Usual morning delays also not yet beginning to creep in, moving nicely around the A405 at the North Orbital Road, and the A421 also moving nicely through Buckingham at the moment. Trains also looking good on the departure boards. There's more in 15 minutes.
Thank you, Sophie. Nearly 6:16. It's Tuesday, the 12th of February. These are your headlines this morning on BBC Three Counties Radio. A St Albans man has been successful in his bid to help police get more drivers with poor eyesight off the road. Parents in Luton need to take more of an interest in their children's education to boost GCSE results, according to one local councillor. In sport, Wycombe Wanderers will have a pitch inspection at 9:30 this morning to determine whether tonight's match against Bradford City will go ahead. The weather today for Beds, Herts and Bucks, cloudy and cold, but staying dry with a top temperature of 4 degrees. Coming up, you, parents, do more to help your kids in school. It'll help boost GCSE results. Well, so says a Luton councillor. She'll be in the studio before 6:30 to explain why. What do you think? Should parents do more to help their kids study, or is it down to the schools? 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Tackling your consumer problems on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Don't worry about that loan now. The whole amount has just been taken off. You don't owe a penny.
Gosh, I can't believe this.
Jonathan Vernon Smith.
This has been 6 years of hell.
Fighting for your rights.
You've done more in 2 weeks than I've done in 6 years. I can't thank you enough.
You've fought it and you've won it.
Well, you won it for me. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
If you have a consumer problem, we can do the same for you. Call the team now. 08459 455 555. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Our reporter this week, our roving reporter this week, is the excellent Sophie Solaria, who's done some cracking jobs, including asking the question, why is Kung Fu Panda set in China? Well, we thought we'd utilise Sophie on a secret mission this morning. Sophie, are you there?
I am.
How are you?
I've roved into the car park.
Ooh, well done you.
Yeah.
Now, this morning we have a little sneaky challenge for you.
You have indeed.
Can you describe what you're holding, please?
I'm holding a silver top hat, very sparkly, very pretty, with many, many pieces of folded up paper in, which have been very, very good and not looked at.
Okay, there are 15 pieces of paper in there, Sophie. What I would like you to do is I want you to put your hands in, have a little zhush around, and then pull one out at random, please, and read it to me.
Okay. All right. This is so bizarre.
I know.
Kempston.
Okay, do you know how to get to Kempston?
No.
Oh,
yes, I have a sat-nav. I have a sat-nav.
Yeah, for goodness sakes. Right, so I want you to go into your car. I want you to program Kempston into your sat-nav.
Yeah.
You have until 9 o'clock this morning to find a story worthy of the Iain Lee Show in Kempston. Can you do it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Does it have to be a story that's ready for your show today?
No, you have to go and find it. That's all there is. You've got Kempston, you've got a microphone, you've got a car. Get me a story, Solaria.
Okay.
And we'll check in with you a bit later on.
Bye.
Bye-bye. There we go. Fantastic. We should be following her throughout the morning to find out how she's going. There's nothing set in Kempston at all. She has to go and use her reporter skills. Oh, nuts. We forgot to give her reporter skills. Never mind. She has to go and use her nous to try and find a story in Kempston before 9 o'clock. Excellent. We'll be following her throughout the morning. Lots of luck, Sophie. I think she might need it.
Haven't seen you since high school. Good to see you're still beautiful. Gravity hasn't started to pull quite yet. I bet you're rich as hell.
One that's 5 and one that's 3. Been 2 years since he left me. Good to know that you got free. That town I know is keeping you down on your knees.
These bruises make for better conversation. Loses the vibe that separates. It's gonna let you in again. You're not alone in how you've been. Everybody loses. know you got a friend, but you remember now and then, everybody loses. These bruises make for better conversation, loses the vibe that separates. It's gonna let you in again. You're not alone in how you've been.
I like that. Train and Ashley Munro. It's a little bit of light country. Nothing wrong with a bit of light country every now and then. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio, 22 minutes past 6. Who'd have thunk that time could even exist, but it does. Now, you should take more of an active interest in your children's education to improve GCSE results. That's according to the Labour councillor for Limbury in Luton. Oh, that's a fun sentence to say. Jackie Burnett, who is also a governor at 2 Luton primary schools, argues that teachers can only do so much. She says if parents were more engaged with their children's schooling by doing things like attending parents' evenings and making sure their children's homework is done on time, then these results would dramatically improve. Jackie joins me live in the studio. So, Jackie,
Morning.
just what do you think parents should be doing more of then? What are they lacking at the moment?
I think some parents are really doing a good job. I think it's more parents need to be engaged, and the education system in this country is constantly changing. So parents need to understand the changes that are taking afoot or has happened, specifically like for you talking about high school. Yeah. Parents need to be aware of the choices that their children are making, the type of choices and subjects that keep their option open when they finish high school to go on to university, the type of courses that the university are looking at. Yeah. And if they have that information early enough, they can sit down with their children when they're going through option evenings and have a discussion, but they need that information and they need to work with them.
Helping the kids kind of make... Kids, listen to me, I'm such an old man. Helping the young people, thank you, to work through what their options are, of course, makes sense. But are you saying that they should be, I don't know, helping them with their homework and things like that?
Making sure that they do their homework.
Right.
You know, as a school governor, I've heard, and I've been a school governor, I think, over 12 years now, I hear reports of we're running homework clubs and parents don't make sure that the children attend or homework is not completed. Now, if the teachers are setting homework, it's really important for the parents to make sure that the child does the homework. If they're struggling, raise it with the teachers and say, oh, my son or my daughter is struggling with this. But to me, you know, the parent needs to know what is going on. You know, attend parents' evening, ask questions. Parents are busy, so if they can't attend parents' evening because they're doing a shift work job, try and go afterwards, because things are going on during the school year, and finding out there's a problem, your child ain't on target when the academic year's about to finish or they're about to take exams, is a bit late.
But there are single parents, there are parents that are working 2-3 jobs, there are parents that haven't got the time to do this thing, to check on their children's homework or to go to parents' evening or to make them a packed lunch or do these things.
I'm talking from I'm a person who has been a single parent. I've done it for nearly 10 years. So, and I've taken the time, and I've done 2 jobs as well. It's just about planning. What I used to do, because parents' evening used to be suddenly upon me a week before, I would phone up the school 6 weeks before and find out, have you set the date for parents' evening? You know, because I know sometimes things just happen, and as a parent, when you're single or 2 jobs, you can't just suddenly change things. If I couldn't make a meeting, I would phone the school and say, can I arrange a meeting with you at a more convenient time? And I would suggest the times that I can make it.
There are people listening who will say, well, hang on a second, this is taking the responsibility away from the teachers and the schools and putting it on the parents. It should be the schools that are pushing the children's education.
But the children are ours. They're entrusted to us, first of all. It wasn't the school that gave birth to them, it was us. If they succeed or fail in life, the parent walks with them all the way, and therefore it's important for the parent to take that. I'm not saying they have to do massive change, but there's step change as they progress and get older. It will change, and also setting appropriate boundaries. With this technology age, as parents, the children are totally immersed in technology. Yeah, they're on their iPads, they're on computer games. That means they get addictive, and I've seen it for myself with my young children, with my children. You need to set some time for them to do the games and have fun, but need to make sure the work get done. Yeah, because the skills that they have and the qualifications they have, it will walk with them for the rest of their life. And that's what I'm saying, to be involved, to take interest, because research showed the different parents' interests make and how your child feels that you're taking the interest in them. Their face lights up when you're asking them about their day, or they know that they can come to you with a problem. And talk.
Have you spoken to parents about this? Have you had any reaction from parents about this yet?
I've talked to parents over the years, and I've got friends who are parents. Yeah. And we've all had challenges. We've all had to adjust things over the years, and I know that we are busy. But I've also seen parents that are proactively involved, and the research has shown it makes a significant amount of difference. The schools have their role. The children have their role, but the parent, and we all need to be working together, and that makes a massive difference to the child. Yeah, to know that they're supported at home and at school.
There is that thing, isn't there, where parents kind of think, "Well, I've done my bit. We've got the kid. We feed it. That's enough. We're going off you go." And I do think my boys. I was saying my boys are 3 and 1, so they're a little bit young for this. But that if you have a child, it carries on. There's more work you have to do, and you have to try and make sure that you're helpful and you're there for them and helping them with their schoolwork and things.
The challenges changes from my experience when they're small to when they're pre-teens and when they're going through teens, and there's different challenges. But we have you talk to the schools, talk to friends, because usually we've got friends of networks who have gone through things, but it's really important. And I just want the gap in Luton, because we keep moving. It's not that Luton's not moving forward, but the national average keeps moving forward, and I want us to pass the national average, and more children have chances that can last the whole of their life, the good qualifications.
Jackie Burnett, thank you so much for coming in at this ridiculous time of the morning. I know it's a slog for all of us, but we've got to do it. Thank you very much. 08459 455 555. You heard Jackie there. What do you think? Do you think yes? Of course parents should be doing more at home and helping out to improve their children's education. Or do you think, hang on a second, this is all down to the schools? Why should I be getting involved? 08459 455 555. Here's the travel news now. Sophie Tyler.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Starting to look heavy on the A405 North Orbital Road, particularly approaching the M25 junction 21A roundabout. Everything else is still really not looking too bad at all, actually. Moving nicely on the motorways this morning. No problems on the M1 or the M25. And also moving nicely as well down the usual travel areas, particularly at the A41. Not looking too bad at all at the moment. Moving nicely elsewhere on the trains as well. All looking good on the departure boards. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Sophie. It's 6:30 exactly. Here's the news and sport with Catherine Boyle.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. The headlines. A St Albans man's been successful in his bid to help police get more drivers with poor eyesight off the road. Parents in Luton need to take more of an interest in their children's education to boost GCSE results, according to one local councillor. And a grooming parlour in Brookmans Park is claiming to have launched the UK's first needleless dog tattoos.
Beds, Herts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Let's start with cricket. England have won the toss and elected to field against New Zealand in the second 2020 international taking place in Hamilton this morning. A short time ago, New Zealand were 54 without loss. Meanwhile, in football, Milton Keynes Dons are away to Doncaster tonight in League One. Luke Chadwick will start, having come on as a sub in the defeated Oldham on Saturday. By the manager's own admission, the Dons were poor at the weekend, but Carl Robinson says his players know what's expected of them.
The players sometimes have got to stand up and be counted, as well as the staff has, but I think, I always have been quite honest and open with you. We've been very honest and open this morning, had frank discussions, and some of them I spoke to yesterday as well. And I think they understand what it takes, and there's no rocket science to it.
Also in League One tonight, Stevenage are at Brentford. Borough will be without their goalkeeper Steve Arnold, who was sent off at the weekend. In League Two, Wycombe Wanderers will have a pitch inspection at 9:30 this morning to determine whether their match against Bradford City at Adams Park will go ahead tonight. And in Luton Town, Scott Rendell has picked up the FA Player of the Round award for his fourth round FA Cup performance against Norwich. Rendell came off the bench to score the winner against the Premiership club, and he could feature in tonight's conference match at Dartford. The Hatters are 14 points from the one automatic promotion spot, and manager Paul Buckle knows his side have to improve on their away form.
What we must do now is get on a run away from home, because it's still all to play for massively. The league tells a false picture, in my opinion. You know, with us having so many games in hand, you'd really like those games to come, those games in hand to come now.
And that's your latest news and sport. More from me at 7 o'clock.
On FM, AM and online. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning. 08459 455 555. Facebook.com/BBC 3CR. Yesterday, coming up in the next 30 minutes, yesterday we told you about the Health Secretary's plan to fund social care. Well, this morning we're going to hear from a Hemel Hempstead woman about how the changes are going to affect her mum, who's got dementia. And a dog grooming shop in Hertfordshire is shaving patterns into dogs. Reporter Serena Farrow has been to see them. Is it ever acceptable to accessorise your pet? I once refused to hold two dogs on television because they were wearing jackets. I feel kind of quite strongly about this, decorating your dog with jewellery and bling and clothes. We don't put clothes on our animals. So shaving patterns into your dog. Do you think it sounds like a good idea? 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. We were just speaking to Jackie Burnett, who is a Labour councillor for Limbury and Luton, and also a school governor, who says that parents should be doing more to help their kids' education. Well, what do you think? Is it the parents' responsibility, or is it the schools? Is this the schools trying to palm off the children onto the parents? 08459 455 555. Ophelia is in Luton. Good morning, Ophelia.
Morning, Ian. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Ups and downs this weekend. Ups and downs, but I'm fine. I'm alive.
The move is over for you.
The move is over, and I have a lovely new house. Get this, Ophelia. I have a garage. I'm so posh. I have a garage, and to open the door, I just press a button on a key. And it opens!
Very nice.
I spent all of Sunday just playing. Me and my boy were playing with that. It's like living in the Brady Bunch house.
That's brilliant. It's important for the snowing time as well.
It is important for the snowing time. Now, Ophelia, this education, what do you think? Should parents be doing more at home?
You know, it was really good to hear that, Governor, because it just made me sit up in bed and get out of bed as I
You did what?
It made me sit up in bed.
Sit up in bed. OK,
yeah,
lovely.
It's really important, Ian, 100%. The things, the nature and the cultures of schools have changed.
Yep.
And we as parents, and even those that are involved with as godparents or carers or grandmas and grandparents, we need to get on board with that. I don't think that it ever should have been the school's 100% responsibility. Class sizes are bigger. English is often a second language in the class. There's behavioural issues, and children have individual needs and need that to be carried off at home. And one of the points the councillor made, which I am 100% on, because I've seen it in my life and the life of my children, is that you need to get children into a routine where learning and going to the library and reading is a part of their everyday life, every day.
Ophelia, I found homework. Oh, such a chore. I hated it.
It was,
I hated it. Why should I, as a 12, 13, 14-year-old, why should I be doing homework? I should be out living and enjoying life and playing on a spectrum.
And that's the thing that children see. They always got that sort of play mentality, and it's a part of their development, where they're at in their development. But they need these sort of teachings for later life, because I felt the same way. But by the time I reached 18, 19 and was at college, I knew the importance of homework and was already disciplined and organised enough to know, OK, time for the library, time for play.
Ophelia, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And I thought Jackie Burnett, who just came in, I thought she put her point excellently. And as a parent, I can totally see what she's saying.
Yeah.
But I noticed something, and I hope this isn't... I'm not sure whether this is snobbery on my part.
Yeah.
But I noticed that she used the word ain't. At least once. And I just thought... No, but listen, I'm prepared to be corrected. I just thought, for someone who's coming on and talking about how we can do better for our children, to use the word ain't... it just struck me as a little bit lazy.
I think it's good, Ian, because you know what? That sort of classy thing will make people understand that, well, it's not just upper classes or middle classes. It's for everyone. She's talking as an ordinary working class mother and making you know what, regardless of whatever class, what your status, your family is, as a single parent or not, you know, your children have a future. You need to invest. It's an investment, Ian. And the other thing she said, which I think is so important, is that parents need to plan ahead, regardless of if you've got 5, 10 jobs. My mom, she worked from 8 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. And parents' evening, she would make time for it. And all right, then we weren't a single-parent family, but, you know, they work very hard. And you need to plan. You need to use annual leave to make sure you sit down and go through what your children are doing.
Ophelia, listen, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Makes a point very strongly. Yeah, of course parents should be helping out more. That's what Ophelia thinks. Was I being snobby, picking up on the ain't? I don't know. I hope I'm not. I hope I wasn't a class thing there. I thought it interesting that a counsellor who's talking about education and improvements used that word. What do you think?
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the tie that binds. Because you're mine, I walk the line. I find it very, very easy to be true. I find myself alone when each day's through. Yes, I'll admit that I'm a fool for you. Because you're mine, I walk the line. As sure as night is dark and day is light, I keep you on my mind both day and night. And happiness I've known proves that it's right. Because you're mine, I walk the line. You've got a way to keep me on your side. You give me cause for love that I can't hide. For you I know I'd even try to turn the tide. Because you're mine, I walk the line. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the tie that binds. Because you're mine, I walk the line.
Bit of Johnny Cash, come on. Hey, Johnny Cash, hey. Now, this is a story. If you want to see some pictures of this, what we're talking about here, because it's quite hard to describe, facebook.com/BBC3CR. The pictures are up there. Okay, so just maybe go and have a look at it while you're listening to this report, because a dog grooming shop in Hertfordshire claims to be the first in the country to offer pooch patches. Jessica Allegri and Amanda Marshall from Groomers on the Green in Brookmans Park came up with the idea when they were bored one day. They're not tattoos as we know them. These are patterns shaved into the dog's fur. 08459 455 555. Good idea or bad idea? Reporter Serena Farrow went and had a look.
This is the washroom. So it's very noisy in here. So this is the bath first where you've got industrial-sized shampoo, if you like. Yeah, 5-litre bottles of shampoo, an industrial-sized bath, so every dog can fit in there. There's no breed that can't fit. And then they have their bath and then they go onto the table here to be dried.
And it looks like he's loving it there in the old dryers.
Yeah, he's a regular, Harvey. He loves it. He loves being pampered. He's having a massage there right now.
Do they get a massage? Seriously?
Yeah, they do in the bath. They get a doggy massage, yeah. Yeah. I've got a Cocker Spaniel on the table. I'm just sort of giving him a short haircut all over, just a practical haircut for this weather.
What things can you do?
Some shapes obviously are quite hard, obviously because we're using clippers, edges, quite difficult to do. We're hoping to do our logo on my dog soon so he can represent us when he goes out for walks. But that's going to be a challenge because it's a very difficult shape to do, but we will practice on him.
You've got like men's shavers and clippers and things.
We're using men's nostril shavers to do the small shapes with so we can get the edges and stuff really straight. Mainly small dog clippers, thinning scissors, all dog grooming equipment though.
We started it here when we were bored one day and it's just taken off. People have seen it, have liked it and are requesting it to be done on their dogs really. It's something we want to make bigger.
You kind of vet, excuse the pun, you vet the animal first before you actually do the pooch patch on them.
Yeah, we do, because obviously if the animal's quite nervous or jumpy, then there's no way we'd be able to do it and it's just not worth it. The grooming takes roughly 2 hours to 2.5, but if you want the pooch patch, it's half an hour to 45 minutes. It's another half an hour for the dog to stand there if it's not completely comfortable, especially if it's the first time with us or it's quite young. Yeah, there's all different factors to consider, really.
And what's the average price of one?
Sort of £20 onwards.
But of course, it could be classed as defacing them.
It's to everyone's opinion. We can't please everyone. If people want something a bit different and snazzy, then it's for them. If it's not, then that's completely fine.
And what kind of dogs have you done it on? Because I can't see like an Alsatian having it done.
No, it's mainly done on short hair breeds. Otherwise, it won't be seen. Some people want things that we haven't done before, like One Direction sort of logo.
One Direction?
Yeah.
Are you thinking about doing more kind of diamantes even?
We're hoping to get the bling bling out there. It's all got to be doggy friendly though for health and safety. We want to dye the pooch patches as well, so yes.
You soon have a little catalogue available.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's our reporter Serena Farrow there talking to Jessica and Amanda from Groomers on the Green. They're talking about doing their logo on their dog. I've just seen their logo. Good luck. Good luck with that. Well, in an hour's time, we're going to be speaking to the RSPCA in East Hertfordshire to see what they think. But in the meantime, I want to hear from you. Is it ever acceptable to accessorise your pet? 08459 455 555. The pictures are on the Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. It's a tough one, isn't it? Do you think it's a good idea? Go and have a look at the pictures and then let me know. Do you think it's a good idea? The only accessory I really like on animals are those collars they have to wear. You know, when they've hurt their leg and they're not allowed to lick their leg, so they have those collars that come out over the head. Those are fun. Those are the fun things. But shaving a One Direction logo into your dog, really? 08459 455 555. Travel news now. Tyler.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Starting to look busy anti-clockwise on the M25. Delays at the moment between junction 21 at the M1 and 19 at Watford. Speed down to around 30 miles an hour there. And also heavy around 17 at Maple Cross and 16 at the M40 as well. The A405 North Orbital Road is still looking heavy, but just approaching the M25 at junction 21A roundabout. Everything else, though, really not looking too bad out there this morning. It's coping fairly well on the speed sensors, and the trains also looking good on the departure boards at the moment. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Sophie. Well, Trudy Wren on Facebook has got in early. She's seen these pictures of these dogs and written Tusk. That's how you spell Tusk, is it? They're dogs, not bloomin' accessories. Have a look. Then give us a call, 08459 455 555. Right, nearly 6:46. It's Tuesday, the 12th of February. These are your headlines this morning on BBC Three Counties Radio. A St Albans man has been successful in his bid to help police get more drivers with poor eyesight off the road. Parents hold the key to boosting GCSE results in Luton, according to one local councillor. In sport, Luton Town's Scott Rendell has picked up the FA Player of the Round award for his fourth round FA Cup performance against Norwich. Coming up, the Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt has been setting out how the government plans to fund social care in England. Mr Hunt confirmed that individual contributions will be capped at £75,000 from April 2017. We'll find out more before 7 o'clock. But before all of that, let's get the latest weather now with Kate Kinsella.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, it's another cold start to the day. Temperatures across the three counties around 0 or just below. For example, over in High Wycombe, we're at -1. So some frost out there this morning. It is a much quieter day than yesterday. We can't rule out the odd snow flurry, particularly for higher ground. But for most of us, it's rather grey. It's rather dry. So that's good news. It's a bit quieter. Temperatures, though, struggling, I'm afraid, under the cloud. We're looking at a maximum of 2 Celsius. That's 36 degrees in Fahrenheit. Overnight, we'll have a bit of cloud for a time, but it will break up slowly. That's going to allow the temperatures to drop right down. The minimum overnight tonight -2 Celsius, 28 degrees in Fahrenheit, so a widespread frost and maybe some icy patches tomorrow morning as well. For Wednesday, a frosty start due to the clouds parting quite late on in the night towards the dawn tomorrow, really. We could get some sunshine first thing, but it will be cold. But we head through the day, the cloud will thicken, and towards the latter part of tomorrow afternoon, we could see a little bit of snow arrive. But with the wind changing direction overnight, that will progressively turn to rain, which sets the way for Thursday. But the maximum temperature tomorrow is still very chilly, 3 Celsius, that's 37 degrees in Fahrenheit. That's your forecast.
Thank you, Kate.
On Valentine's Day, BBC Three Counties Radio launches on DAB Digital Radio. And as part of our special day to celebrate, we want to hear about your plans to propose to your loved one.
For richer, for poorer, for better, for worse.
If you're happy to share your romantic moment, email us 3cr@bbc.co.uk or via facebook.com and twitter.com/BBC3CR. And don't worry, we won't let the cat out the bag.
This is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, we talked about this yesterday. The Health Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, has been setting out how the government plans to fund social care in England. Mr Hunt confirmed that individual contributions would be capped at £75,000 from April 2017. Speaking in the Commons, Mr Hunt said he wanted to help people plan for the cost of old age.
By creating certainty that this is the maximum they will have to pay, they can then make provision through insurance or pension products so that they are covered up to the value of the cap, thereby reducing the risk of selling their home or losing an inheritance that they have worked hard to pass on to their family.
Under the changes, people will be able to keep more of their money before they have to start paying for care. At the moment, the means-tested threshold is £23,000. In future, that will be set at £120,000. But those in residential homes will still have to pay for their own accommodation and food. The Shadow Health Secretary, Andy Burnham, has criticised the package. He's calling it a con.
The House has been presented with a flawed prospectus today. Vulnerable people will still face rising care charges. Homes will still be lost, despite valiant attempts to put the best possible spin on things in the weekend media.
Well, Denise Rose Coyle is in Hemel Hempstead and her mum has dementia and had to go into full-time care. Morning, Denise.
Good morning.
Listen, I had to make the decision with my sister to put my mum into care. It's a tough thing to do, isn't it? Can you describe what it felt like when you realised that that was what you had to do?
It's an incredibly tough thing to do. It's the feeling of guilt more than anything. My mum never wanted to go into a home, as probably most people's mums or dads would be. And it was just, it's quite a soul-destroying, and it's horrible to have to watch her sort of being destroyed by this disease. But it's just something that we had to do. It was unsafe for her to be on her own, in her own home anymore.
Did you get any criticism from friends or family for doing that? Because I've fallen out with big parts of my family because we put mum in a home.
I think, well, I mean, as a family, we're very supportive of one another, and I've had nothing said to me to my face that I know about. So, no, we haven't come across anything like that. I mean, personally, we feel guilty about it anyway. Yeah,
of course you do. But you know that mum's is in a safer place and is well protected.
Yes, that's right. We do have peace of mind.
Give us some of the idea of the costs that are incurred for your mum's care.
Well, currently she is actually paying £720 per week to be in a full-time residential care home, which obviously is a huge drain on her financial resources. I mean, she saved well during her life, and she does own her own property, which we will eventually have to sell to fund her care, as she is classed as self-funding because she has assets over £23,000. So yeah, it's a big financial commitment, and we're obviously, struggling to pay that at the moment.
Is the house on the market yet? Have you gone down that road yet?
It's not on the market
Right.
yet. No, I mean this is quite she's only recently gone into care. It was January when
Right.
she first went in, so we're just exploring all of our options at the moment. And we realise that there is going to have to be a point when her savings run out that we will have to indeed sell the house, which was really my dad bought it on the right to buy scheme in the 80s with a vision of providing mum with a home for the rest of her life, and then sadly when she died, we would inherit this. This would be for his children, his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And he worked from the age of 14 and spent time doing national service for this country, and we just feel as though, for what? And we feel that we're failing him in some way because we can't carry out his wishes.
One of my mums, when she's kind of remembers what happened, one of her saddest things is that she's had to sell her house, so she's got no inheritance. I'm not worried about the money, but she's got nothing to pass on to her grandkids now.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what my dad wanted to do. I mean, my mum doesn't have that many lucid moments at the moment, but I'm sure she would want the same for us as well.
These changes that are announced, 2017 they come into place. I'm guessing it may be too far in the future to be beneficial to your mum, is that right?
Too late for my mum, yeah, absolutely.
Do you think they sound like a good idea, though?
It's. I would class it as a shuffle in the right direction. I wouldn't go as far to say it was a step, but I mean, at least they have encountered the issue and tried to do something about it. But it's not really going to benefit that many people. I would challenge the government to find me a Hertfordshire homeowner, for instance, whose property is valued at $123,000 or less. It's just, that is a silly.
People probably still are going to have to sell their homes, but
Exactly.
the increase of the threshold by about £100,000 that's something, isn't it?
Yes, it is something. It would have been nice if they'd have kept the care cost at the original amount by the Deal Not Commission of $35,000, but that's gone up by $40,000. But yes, the increase in the threshold for the assets is a good thing.
Denise, final question: how's Mum doing? Is she settled in yet?
She's not too bad. She's not brilliant where she is, but she's getting the care. She's put on a bit of weight, and we have peace of mind. So
listen, you've done the right thing, and there are people out there who judge and say, well, you should be doing more for your family and stuff. I think you've done a very brave thing, Denise, and it's a tough decision to make, but you know that Mum is safe and she's being well looked after, so that's all you can ask for. 08459 455 555. Oh, Cliff Richard.
Shake, well, honey, please don't lose it. The rhythm that gets into your heart and soul. Let me tell you, baby, it's called rock and roll. They say it's gonna die, but honey, please let's face it. Well, they just don't know what's going to replace it. Calypsos, I've got nothing on. Real country music that just drives along. Well, hello, movie.
I don't think Cliff will mind if I fade him down early. I just want to speak. We've got a caller. I want to speak to Caroline from Caddington about these dogs that are having these patches shaved into them. Morning, Caroline.
Good morning, Iain.
Now, you sell clothes for dogs on the internet, don't you?
Yes, I do, yes.
What kind of stuff do you sell?
Anything from your very practical high-vis jackets through to very pretty little dresses.
Dresses?
Yes.
For dogs?
Dresses. Yes.
Why?
Why not?
Because we don't dress our animals. They're dressed already with fur.
Yeah, okay, but there's usually only very small little handbag dogs that tend to wear the dresses. But the practical coats, you say they shouldn't wear clothes. why? A dog can get hypothermia, can get frostbite.
A dress isn't going to stop that, is it?
No, of course it isn't. That is
silly sausage.
Just for that's just sort of a fashion accessory, isn't it? That's just to say, oh, look at my dog.
But shouldn't we be treating pets with a little bit more respect than using it as a fashion accessory?
Yes, I agree. Yes, so and there are a lot of people, especially with sort of. I'm not quite so sure about the clipping. As if it's just scissors and a pattern, okay, fair enough. Most people get their dogs clipped.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the colours and the nail varnish, and yes, you can get little bling earring things for dogs. That's taking it a little bit far.
You can get nail varnish and bling earrings for dogs?
Yes.
I do like the way you've got your boundaries. Dresses, hey, that's fine. Bling earrings, oh no, that's going too far.
Yeah, it is.
But what about, we're talking about these patches being shaved in. Someone's having a One Direction logo, I believe they're a pop group, shaved into their dog. That's not fair, is it?
No, it's not really. I mean, it's not actually going to do the dog any harm.
No,
it's only being cut. It's only being clipped. But yeah, it's kind of taking it a little bit too far with making it an accessory.
Dogs know when you're pointing at them and laughing at them, don't they?
Yeah.
They do.
Some dogs do actually like being dressed up. Some dogs do actually like.
And how did they let you know this, Caroline?
You can just see it in their faces. You can see the happiness in their face. You can see their tails wagging. And they like being groomed. They like being dressed up.
Oh, they like being groomed. All dogs love being groomed. Well, they should do. I'm not convinced about the dresses and the bling.
Ask Roberto to see Dolly.
I'm all right. I don't need to see Roberto's dolly, for goodness sakes. Caroline, thank you very much. Caroline from Caddington there. I've got to be honest, I don't think we dress our animals, do we? We're being a little bit oversensitive here. We'll talk more about this after the travel with Sophie.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Busy anti-clockwise on the M25, delays just between junction 21A at St Albans and 19 at Watford. Can take around quarter of an hour to get through that stretch, and 25 minutes as well to get through from 17 at Maple Cross to 15 at the M4. The A405 at North Orbital Road is still busy approaching at the M25 junction 21A roundabout, and the Barnet bypass also heading south, looking fairly busy. What you'd expect between Stirling Corner and the Watford bypass. Trains are coping well this morning, no problems on the tubes either. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Sophie. Well, we've posted the pictures of these dogs with their patterns shaved on them on Twitter and Facebook. And Chris Knox on Twitter, he's not happy. He's just replied, "What the hell? Really? Really? Well, I have no faith left in the human race." What do you think? Are we being oversensitive? Is it just a bit of fun? Should we be treating our pets as accessories, or should we have a little bit more respect for them? Here's the news with Catherine.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, it's 7 o'clock. The headlines: driver eyesight victory for St Albans campaigner, Luton councillor criticises hands-off parents, and dog tattoos take hold in Hertfordshire.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A St Albans man has won his fight to give the police more powers to tackle drivers with dangerously bad eyesight. Sam McCord is behind the introduction of Cassie's Law, named after his sister, who was killed by a driver who'd failed a roadside eye test but was able to get back behind the wheel. From now on, police would be able to suspend that driver's licence in a matter of hours. Bedford optometrist Simon Browning welcomes the move.
People, especially elderly people, do need some form of transport to get around, and they're very reliant on their cars. But it's this denial that we all have in terms of vision, that I only use it on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock or something like that, as if the rest of the world knows that they should get out of the way.
The European Union's called a meeting to discuss the discovery of horse meat in food products labelled as beef. In the UK, horse meat's been found so far in burgers and ready meals, including lasagna and spaghetti bolognese. A stricter testing regime is being introduced in France, where some of the wrongly labelled products sold in England were made. Parents in Luton need to take more responsibility for their children's education if GCSE results are ever going to improve, according to one local politician. Jackie Burnett is the Labour councillor for Limbury, as well as a parent governor. She told Iain Lee teachers can only do so much.
We're running homework clubs and parents don't make sure that the children attend or homework is not completed. Now, if the teachers are setting homework, it's really important for the parents to make sure that the child does the homework. If they're struggling, raise it with the teachers. To me, the parent needs to know what is going on.
The decision by the Pope to stand down is provoking intense speculation about who might be chosen to succeed him as the leader of the world's Catholics. Pope Benedict surprised even his own advisers when he announced yesterday that at the age of 85, he would resign because he was too infirm to continue his ministry. What's thought to be the world's oldest pancake race is set to be held in Buckinghamshire later on. It's thought the tradition began in Olney in 1445 when a woman who was late for church ran out of her house with her frying pan in hand. A Brookman's Park grooming parlour claims to have launched a UK first dog tattoos. There are no needles involved, but the pooch patches are patterns shaved into the fur of short-haired varieties. Jessica Allegri owns Groomers on the Green and she thinks she's onto something big.
We're hoping to get the bling bling out there. It's all got to be doggy friendly though for health and safety. We want to dye the pooch patches as well.
In sport, England's cricketers have won the toss and elected to field against New Zealand in the second 2020 international taking place in Hamilton this morning. A short time ago, New Zealand were 111 for 2. The weather cloudy and cold but staying dry today with a top temperature of 4 degrees Celsius. That's 39 degrees Fahrenheit. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio. First for news.
If you've just joined us, I'll be honest, you missed a cracking hour. It's all downhill from here. No, hang on, that's not right. No. Lots coming up, though, between now and 8 o'clock, including the police are to get tougher powers to tackle drivers who have poor eyesight and are unfit to drive. The St Albans man campaigned for the change. He's on the show next. I want to hear from you. Should drivers be forced to have regular eye tests? A dog grooming shop in Hertfordshire is shaving patterns into dogs. Some owners have even asked for the One Direction logo to be marked on their pets. Do you think it's ever acceptable to accessorise your pets? Have a look at the pictures on facebook.com/BBC3CR. I'll be talking to the owner of the shop in a little bit and telling them what I think. And we've sent reporter Sophie Solaria on a secret mission. She's picked a place name at random from a hat. She chose Kempston. I told her she needs to find a story there before 9 o'clock. We'll catch up with her shortly to find out how she's getting on. I've given you the Facebook address. You can also text 81333, start your text 3CR, and please include your name. Or you can give me a phone call, 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, a man from St Albans has successfully campaigned to make it easier for police to get drivers with poor eyesight off the road. If a driver fails a roadside test, police can now get information straight to the DVLA and their driving licence can be suspended within a matter of hours. It follows the death of 16-year-old Cassie McCord, who was run over when an 87-year-old driver mounted the pavement and struck her. Her brother is Sam McCord and is from St Albans. Morning, Sam.
Good morning.
Sam, can you tell me what happened to your sister? What happened that day?
She was on her way to school, to Sixth Form College in Colchester, and the gentleman mounted the curb, then swung back onto the road, and then mounted the curb again where he struck not only my sister but another girl as well. She was then hit against the wall and passed away through being brain dead. The gentleman had hit the accelerator instead of the brake. And he'd also had a previous incident a few days prior to that, which was extremely similar.
And how did you find out, Sam? What happened?
I got a phone call off of my mum, who attended the scene. She told me that my sister had been in an accident, and would I be able to come up to the hospital in Colchester. And from there, she was then moved to Romford, which was where I eventually got to see her before she passed away.
And how the family... This happened 18 months ago, have I got that right?
It was actually two years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, last Friday, yeah.
Oh, Sam, I'm sorry. How are the family coping?
I think we've all pulled together.
Yeah.
It was definitely a traumatic time for us. they say time's a healer. It's obviously one thing that's yet to be seen. We've all pulled together. It's been difficult. It's been difficult over the past couple of years. However, with the petition, it's made it slightly easier, knowing that nobody else can suffer the same way that we have.
Well, you've achieved something which is remarkable and deserves to be applauded. When did you start the campaign?
The campaign was put into place by my mother. That was, I'd say, 4 or 5 months after the accident. She had a word with, with petition experts and with her local MP, which was Sir Bob Russell of Colchester, and they discussed ways to obviously stop this type of accident from happening.
And it's taken place. It's happening. You've won this.
It has, yeah. Now that there's a new procedural improvement on the back of the Cassie's Law petition, that obviously now, as opposed to it taking days to revoke the licence of somebody who's deemed dangerous on the road by the police, it can now take a couple of hours.
I'm going to ask a question that's pretty horrible. So if you know, you say that this gentleman who killed your sister had been involved in a similar incident a few days before.
Yep.
If Cassie's Law had been in place 2 years ago, do you think that your sister would still be around?
Most definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
How did you feel when you found out that this chap had done this a couple of days before?
I was stunned at the fact there was nothing in place and that the loopholes in the law existed. The fact that he'd failed an eyesight test, the fact that the reason for the accident could have been helped, knowing that he was then allowed to get back into his car, despite the fact that the police thought that he was unfit to drive and told him that they felt he was unfit to drive. I felt disappointed and let down by the fact that these loopholes did exist. There were obviously ways that they could be put into place to protect.
Let me know if I got this right. The way it works now is if the police suspect that someone's eyesight is not up to scratch, they can send. They send an email?
They can now. Yes, they can telephone, email the DVLA directly.
And they respond to that almost immediately, do they? The DVLA?
Is within a matter of minutes. Yeah.
Are you happy with this? Does it go far enough?
For us at this time, we're more than happy. Yeah. More than happy with this. Had this been the case 2 years ago, my sister would still be alive. There's also been very similar incidents that has happened between then and now, where other people would have avoided accidents as well.
Do you think people are aware of how bad their eyesight actually is?
It's definitely an area where I guess it comes down to self-judgment. If you feel personally that you're okay to drive, people are dependent on it. So whether you think if you wake up your vision's a bit blurred and you need to get to work or you need to get to the shops, it's completely down to yourself whether you feel that you can drive or whether you feel that your eyesight's going or not.
And for that, you said it was 2 years ago, very recently. Do you do anything to remember Cassie on that day, or do you try and just have in inverted commas, a normal day?
I took the day off work. I spent some time with my mum. We went out to the day to a place that was very special to us as a family. I then came back and spent some time with my dad. It's obviously a very difficult time, and I want to spend time with the people that I love and that love me and that love my sister.
Well, listen, not that this makes up for it in any way whatsoever. Of course it doesn't. But you have achieved something that's amazing and will hopefully save more lives. So that's a tiny little bit of light. You've got another petition as well? We
have, yes. The Cassie's Law petition is now finished. We've now set up another one, which is Safer Roads in Memory of Cassie. It's on the e-petition online. We're calling for the government to introduce a retest for drivers at the age of 70, which would be some form of medical assessment as well as an eyesight test. Because the retest is it 75? I'm not sure. I haven't got the figure to hand.
So you're petitioning for a retest at 70 and a medical as well, just to make sure they're fit,
including an eye test, and then we're calling for that to happen every time you reapply for your licence, and yearly eyesight tests once you reach the age of 80 as well.
Sam, listen, I really appreciate you coming on. What can I say? Lots of love to you and your family, and these things do tend to bring people closer together, don't they?
They do, yeah, definitely.
Well, and congratulations on getting this put through, Sam. Thank you very much indeed. Sam McCord from St Albans, who is the brother of Cassie, who was 16 and died 2 years ago, just last Friday.
The BBC in beds, hearts and bucks. This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, what can you say after that? Well, you just kind of have to move on and do some other bits and pieces. So, let's have a look at the front pages of the newspapers, shall we? The Guardian. Bolt from the blue. Pope's resignation stuns church. As who was it on Twitter? Made the only so many Pope jokes yesterday. Who was it? It was Rachel. What's Rachel's last name on Twitter? Hang on a second. Rachel Lichtman, who I follow and who's brilliant. She's called it Pontificate. Oh, that's good. Pontificate, where we'd all wish we thought of that. Pope Benedict the 16th stunned the Roman Catholic Church yesterday as he announced his intention to carry out the first papal resignation in almost 600 years, prompting shock from even his closest confidants and a kind of from everyone else. Is anyone really bothered by that? I don't even know if the Catholics are that bothered by it anymore, are they? And Tesco say Bolognese range is 60% horse meat. The Independent. The Independent, situation vacant, new leader wanted for 1.2 billion Roman Catholics. There's talk there might be a black pope. You know how you know that there was a lady pope years ago, hundreds of years ago. There was a lady pope. A woman pretended to be a man and became the pope. And then when she died, they're like, oh no, nuts, or rather no nuts. She's a woman. We've been tricked. So now I'm sure this is true. Someone could call in and confirm this or not. 08459 455 555. They have a thing called the Pope chair. Okay, and the way the Pope chair works is you sit on it, but it's kind of like a toilet seat. Okay, there's a hole in the middle. I'm sorry if you're having your breakfast. I'm sure this is a true story. And the Pope sits on the chair without any underwear, and someone reaches behind underneath, I'm sure this is true, to feel if it's a gentleman. I am sure I'm getting looks from my teams if to say no, that's not true. I'm sure that's true. Can someone confirm or deny the rumours of the Pope chair? 08459 455 555. They sit on a chair. It's like a toilet seat. Everything hangs below, like in that James Bond film. And someone reaches behind and goes, "Yep, that's a bloke." Does that happen? I'm sure it does. The Times, I'm too frail to go on. First Pope to resign his office for 600 years. The Telegraph, I'm too frail in mind and body to carry on. We've lost the Express. No great loss, really, in the scheme of things. The Daily Mail. Now Tesco admits its bolognese is made of horse meat, and Helena Bonham Carter is going to play Elizabeth Taylor. And The Sun... England's 40k for Gaza. Squad and FA pay to aid rehab. There we go. 08459 455 555. This is a serious question. Is there such a thing as a Pope seat? And does it involve someone reaching behind? I'm sure it does. I couldn't have dreamt that, could I? 7:15. Travel News, Sophie Tyler.
Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Looking fairly busy now, London bound on the M1 around junction 9 at Redbourne and anti-clockwise on the M25. Still looking at delays between 21A at St Albans and 19 at Watford. 35-minute delays as well between 17 at Maple Cross and 15 at the M4 and the Barnet bypass. Heading south, still looking slow between Stirling Corner and the Watford bypass. Through Cheshunt, the A10 Great Cambridge Road is also queuing. Heading south between Brookfield Lane West and College Road. Everything else not looking too bad at the moment. Trains are coping well on the departure boards as well. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Sophie. We're just trying to get confirmation on the existence of the papal chair. 08459 455 555. And no, Catherine Ball, they do not roll under the chair on a skateboard. Nearly 7:16, it's Tuesday the 12th of February. These are your headlines this morning on BBC Three Counties Radio. As you've heard, a St Albans campaigner has won his fight to give police new powers to suspend the licences of drivers found with dangerously bad eyesight. Parents in Luton need take more responsibility for their children's education if GCSE results are ever going to improve. That's according to one local politician. In sport, there'll be a pitch inspection at 9:30am to decide whether Wycombe Wanderers' League 2 match against Bradford City goes ahead tonight. Weather today for Beds, Herts and Bucks, cloudy and cold, but staying dry with a top temperature of 4 degrees. Coming up, should parents take more of an active interest in their children's education? 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Nick Coffer on BBC Three Counties Radio.
No 2 days are ever the same on my programme. That's because I get to meet passionate local people.
As usual, over a pint in the Queen's Head one night in Amtor, we said, hey, why don't we have a pop-up cinema? And we just got together and we convert Parkside Hall into a cinema.
Play loads of great music. The Birds, Mr. Tambourine Man. Tell me which other show on the radio goes from Leanne Rimes to Elvis Presley. And sometimes I try to learn new skills. And then you've got the white thread basically connected to these bobbins, which
Don't mess them up.
I may have messed them up.
Nick Coffer, Monday to Saturday from 12 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
There you go, always worth a listen. This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio, 08459 455 555. We are trying to ascertain the existence or otherwise of the papal chair. We'll discuss more in a bit. Now, you should take more of an active interest in your children's education to improve GCSE results. That's according to the Labour councillor for Limbury in Luton. Jackie Burnett, who is also a governor at 2 Luton primary schools, argues that teachers can only do so much. I spoke to her earlier on.
I hear reports of we're running homework clubs and parents don't make sure that the children attend or homework is not completed. Now, if the teachers are setting homework, it's really important for the parents to make sure that the child does the homework. If they're struggling, raise it with the teachers and say, oh, my son or my daughter is struggling with this. But to me, you know, the parent needs to know what is going on. You know, attend parents' evening, ask questions. Parents are busy, so if they can't attend parents' evening because they're doing a shift work job, try and go afterwards, because things are going on during the school year, and finding out there's a problem, your child ain't on target when the academic year's about to finish or they're about to take exams, is a bit late.
But there are single parents, there are parents that are working 2-3 jobs, there are parents that haven't got the time to do this thing, to check on their children's homework, or to go to parents' evening, or to make them a packed lunch, or do these things.
I'm a person who has been a single parent.
Yeah.
I've done it for nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and I've taken the time, and I've done 2 jobs as well. Yeah. It's just about planning. What I used to do, because parents' evening used to be suddenly upon me a week before, I would phone up the school 6 weeks before and find out, have you set the date for parents' evening?
Yeah.
You know, because I know sometimes things just happen, and as a parent, when you're single or 2 jobs, you can't just suddenly change things. If I couldn't make a meeting, I would phone the school and say, can I arrange a meeting with you at a more convenient time? And I would suggest the times that I can make it.
Well, that was me speaking to Jackie Burnett earlier on. I'm joined now by Timothy Ramsden, who represents members of the teaching union NASUWT in Luton, Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire. You need to make that into a catchy word. You're missing a trick there.
Like NASUWT or 3 counties.
Yeah, you need something like that. Now, you heard Jackie there. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think that parents should be doing more, Timothy?
Yes, it's part of our belief that parents and schools should work together and very closely. The only thing I would say, and I must say that I agree with what I heard from Jackie. I heard, as I was coming in here, your caller Ophelia, who I thought made some very, very good points. In fact, if every parent behaved in the way she said, things might be a lot better for young people and for schools. I think we've got to remember 2 things, though. A parent is largely interested in their child, their children, quite naturally, quite rightly.
Yep.
And it's quite right that they should make their concerns about their children known. That helps the teacher, the school know what the particular problems are or what the successes are, where the child's saying, I want to do more because I've done that work and it's boring, where the child says, I can't understand. At the same time, the teacher usually has about 30 or more people in a class.
Yeah.
They can't spend all the time, even if there are teaching assistants to help, dealing with 1 or 2, 3, 4 children who happen to have parents who make their concerns known. So what I would like to see is, within the resources that are available, and that is important, that those parents who find it difficult to go to the school, the ones who perhaps had a difficult time themselves, whose strength doesn't lie in going into institutions and talking to people, be it schools or elsewhere, are actually encouraged to come forward and not seen as problems, and their children's difficulties aren't seen as problems, but are encouraged to work with the school, so you're working in alliance, because that, I think, is the... that, I think, is the big thing. We all know about the child who causes trouble. What has always concerned me is the child who doesn't cause trouble, sits there, says they understand, they're getting on fine, but really is taking nothing in. And that is somewhere where I think the parents could say, but they don't seem to understand, they don't know, what can we do? And I think the question from a parent that is really valuable is not so much you do this, which it can be interfering with the teacher's work, but what can we do to help? How can you help us as parents?
You mentioned something that's interesting there that hadn't occurred to me, but makes perfect sense, is that some parents don't like schools. They have bad histories with schools. Yes. They don't like institutions. They don't like necessarily one-on-one confrontations with a teacher or with a head teacher. So it is difficult for some parents to go into the schools and flag up issues and things.
It could be, if there are resources, that some sort of parent advocate to go in with them, somebody who can help them, would be very useful. Because one of the things that a lot of us tend to do if we are worried or anxious is we get aggressive. Or we're worried about, or we don't go in because we're worried about what the other person will say. Yep. And so a constructive conversation never takes place. So I think that's right, that it's useful that those, where there are difficulties, schools have changed a lot. And many people who are parents or grandparents even giving advice will find that schools on the whole nowadays are much more receptive. But I do have one thing to say, which is we are facing the threat of a breakup of the state education system. And the danger there is that you will get some schools where essentially the schools, it's a question as to whether the schools are there for the pupils or the pupils are there to give good results for the schools and build the school's reputation. Now, I would like to see every school required to take on board parental concerns, not just in terms of tell us what our teachers have got to do and send emails demanding this, that and the other, but, you know, feel that if you've got difficulties, it's not that we don't want your child, it's not that we're going to try and get rid of your child, and unfortunately that can happen. It's actually a question, although it's rare, what we actually want is parents who can go in feeling confident that the school really wants to help the child. And I think if you get that sort of involvement and parents don't feel afraid and they get a positive reception and they get support, I think they'll find that it will help their children. And that, of course, helps the whole atmosphere of a classroom and the development of a whole class.
You represent teachers in Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire. How do parents compare...
And Luton.
And Luton. How do parents compare in Luton to elsewhere?
Well, it's not actually Luton versus Hertfordshire or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is, in any area, and you can find this, I'm sure, in any single county or authority within the three counties area, you tend to get either the area where there is more of this sort of challenge, the social deprivation, where there are a larger number of people, though I don't hesitate to say it's by no means everybody, who are of the type that you mentioned, or in the situation you mentioned. I find it difficult to go into school. I don't support the school. I don't see the
Well, they don't have the time. They could be doing 2 or 3 jobs.
Or they're tired out because they're doing 2 or 3 jobs. They're cleaning at night. They've got a job in the morning, etc., etc. On the other hand, you get the, shall we say, the more affluent areas where the behavioural problems tend to be far more from the, in brackets, in inverted commas, spoilt child, the child who expects too much, and where the parents' challenges are not what's the point of the school. The parental challenges are the school's got to do more for my child, the school's got to do more for my child. Now, both those need mediating because any parental concern is a genuine concern. Schools aren't there for teachers, etc. Schools are there for children, and the parents obviously are the people closest to the children. So there are differences which do tend to follow social class and levels of affluence, etc., and levels of education and the parents and all these other things that people measure society by. But the important thing is that whatever the challenge, that within the resources that are available, and I think parents have to realise there is limited time for teachers because they've got 101 things to do, that we individualise things and certainly build a partnership between parents and schools. It happens, I have to say, it happens particularly in primary schools where you'll find parents going in, talking to the teacher, bringing the children into the classroom sometimes in the morning. It's far more difficult with the larger, spread-out secondary schools, but I think that it's something which has to be positive, and I do agree with Jackie Burnett.
There are some people listening, though, who might be saying, hey, come on a second, it's the teacher's job to teach my kids. Stop trying to, palm this responsibility off onto us.
Well, if they say that, they're quite right. It is the teacher's job to teach the child. But if you put it another way round, would you rather have your child taught for 5 or 6 hours in school and then not at all? Or would you rather have your child taught for, say, 12, 14, 16 hours because you, the parents, you might formally do it, you might sit down and read or help them add up or give a bit of aid with homework, or you might just encourage them to go and do their homework, might just encourage them to watch a different television programme, might just encourage them to read a book rather than watch a video, etc., etc., then, or DVD I should say, it shows how old I am.
There we go, yes.
So I think there is parental encouragement. So you're right, not asking parents to do the job of teachers, but they can supplement and enhance them. If you're in training for the Olympics and everybody wants their child to be Olympic standard in education.
My boy's going to win Wimbledon. That's definitely happening, yes.
You don't stop at 4 o'clock and say, right, that's it, because my coach has gone home, I'm not going to use a tennis racket till tomorrow. And the same is true. Parents can do a tremendous amount, and even if it's just in helping to model good behaviour, and language and appropriateness of language, that helps as well. Now, you made a comment on Jackie Burnett's use of language, and whether it's true or not, it isn't necessarily so that she's, not allowed to use a word like ain't.
She used the word, just for those who didn't hear it, she used the word ain't, and I'm hoping this isn't me being snobbish, but I thought it was interesting that someone who is pressing for better standards in education would use a word that my mum would have told me off for using when I was younger.
Yeah, I think it depends on the usage, etc. I think that if I had a young person in a class who had learned something and was able to express something for the first time, I wouldn't say, you shouldn't have used that word, ain't, you should have said isn't. I might quietly say it afterwards, or next time, why not? But the important thing is what is being said good? Is it showing that there's learning going on? And, I would say the same for Jackie. I think she's made some very good points, and you've allowed her to make them publicly, which is
She made them excellent. My boys are 3 and 1. I'm dreading when they get to like 12, 13, 14, they start bringing maths homework home. Dad, how do I do this? I don't know. I haven't got a clue.
So what do you do about it?
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia, or even more wicked, you say, well, OK, I'll email the school. Now, that's fine. My child needs help with his homework. Yeah. I can't give it to him. Can you help? What would be wrong, I think, as a teacher representative, is that you send that email and then an hour later say, why haven't I had a reply to my email? Because it might need more discussion. It might not be a reply to you. It might be talking to your son or daughter when they're at school.
Timothy, thank you so much for coming in. Absolutely fascinating. Timothy Ramsden from Nasyut.
That's right.
Is that how we're saying it?
Nasyut in 3 counties.
There we go. Fantastic. Excellent stuff. 08459 455 555. Very quickly, we've sent Sophie Solaria out on a top secret mission. She's gone to Kempston, a name she picked at random, to come up with a story before 9 o'clock. Sophie?
Hiya.
Are you in Kempston?
I am in Kempston, yes. I'm just at the high street. I am. I'm by the recycling bin.
Oh, classy. That's how I imagine you to be, Sophie, and your time off. Are you any closer to finding a story? You've only got, an hour and a half.
I know. Not really. No, I'm not going to lie to you. Kempston's actually a little bit quiet at the moment, but my theory is that they are good recyclers. So I'm going to stand by the bins and hopefully they'll come over. If that doesn't work, there's a post office up the road. I think people might go there. Otherwise, there's a doctor's surgery. I might have to check myself in.
How long, Sophie, how long have you been standing by the recycling?
20 minutes.
How many people have you seen recycling?
0.
Right. What time does the post office open?
I don't know yet.
What time does the doctor's open?
I don't know.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, you need to work a little bit harder.
I know, yeah, okay.
Speak to you later, Sophie.
Yeah.
Good luck. Oh, dear. Poor Sophie. Here's the other Sophie in my life, Sophie Tyler.
Beds, hearts and bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Anti-clockwise on the M25, we're looking at delays of around 15 minutes between 21A at St Albans and 19 at Watford, and delays again of 45 minutes between 17 at Maple Cross and 15 at the M4. Now, the Barnet bypass heading southbound is looking slow at the moment between Stirling Corner and the Watford bypass, and through Cheshunt as well. The A10 Great Cambridge Road also slow just around Brookfield Lane West. Now, the A5 heading south through Dunstable also slow at the moment between Church Street and Lynch Hill. Usual delays for this time in the morning. Everything else actually not looking too bad, seems to be moving fairly nicely out there, and the trains also looking good. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, I'm hearing... Thank you, Sophie. I'm hearing mixed stories about this papal chair. First off, on Facebook, under the picture of the dogs with the patches groomed in, Gillian is saying, the Pope chair and woman, both Pope Joan and the chair, are Protestant myths put about to discredit the Church during the Middle Ages. There is no documented evidence of either. But then Mark on Twitter says, yeah, the Pope's tackle-checking chair is the Poffrey chair. It was instigated because of Pope Joan in 2015. You were on the ball, sir. So we need definite proof. I guess we need to get, like, a Catholic priest on? Make it happen. 08459 455 555. Here's the news with Catherine Boyle.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, it's just gone 7:30. The headline: to St Albans campaigner has won his fight to give police new powers to suspend the licences of drivers found to have dangerously bad eyesight. Parents in Luton need to take more responsibility for their children's education if GCSE results are ever going to improve, according to one local politician. And a Brookman's Park grooming parlour claims to have launched a UK-first needle-free dog tattoos.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
England's cricketers won the toss and put New Zealand into bat for the second 2020 international taking place in Hamilton this morning. A short time ago, New Zealand were 176 for 5. In football, MK Dons are away to Doncaster tonight in League One. Luke Chadwick will start, having come on as a sub in the defeat at Oldham on Saturday. And by the manager's own admission, the Dons were poor at the weekend, but Carl Robinson says his players know what's expected of them.
The players sometimes have got to stand up and be counted, as well as the staff has, but I think, I always have been quite honest and open with you. We've been very honest and open this morning, had frank discussions, and some of them I spoke to yesterday as well. And I think that they understand what it takes, and there's no rocket science to it.
Also in League One tonight, Stevenage are at Brentford. Borough will be without their goalkeeper Steve Arnold, who was sent off at the weekend. In League Two, Wycombe Wanderers have a pitch inspection at 9:30 this morning to determine whether their match against Bradford City at Adams Park will go ahead. And that's your latest news and sport. More from me at 8 o'clock.
On FM, AM and online. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning. A dog grooming shop in Hertfordshire shaving patterns into dog's fur. There are pictures of it. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Go and have a look and let me know what you think. Well, Jessica Allegri and Amanda Marshall are from Groomers on the Green in Brookman's Park. They came up with the idea when they were bored one day. Always the best place and time to have ideas, I think. They're not tattoos as such. They're patterns shaved into the dog's fur, as reporter Serena Farrow discovered.
The washroom. So it's very noisy in here. So this is the bath first where you've got industrial sized shampoo, if you like. Yeah, 5 litre bottles of shampoo, an industrial sized bath, so every dog can fit in there. There's no breed that can't fit. And then they have their bath and then they go onto the table here to be dried. And it looks like he's loving it there in the old dryers. Yeah, he's a regular, Harvey. He loves it. He loves being pampered. He's having a massage there right now. Do they get a massage? Seriously? Yeah, they do in the bath. They get a doggy massage, yeah.
I've got a Cocker Spaniel on the table. I'm just sort of giving him a short haircut all over, just a practical haircut for this weather.
What things can you do?
Some shapes obviously are quite hard, obviously because we're using clippers. Edges, quite difficult to do. We're hoping to do our logo on my dog soon so he can represent us when he goes out for walks. But that's going to be a challenge because it's a very difficult shape to do, but we will practice on him.
You've got like men's shavers and clippers and things.
We're using men's nostril shavers to do the small shapes with so we can get the edges and stuff really straight. Mainly small dog clippers, thinning scissors, all dog grooming equipment though.
We started it here when we were bored one day and it's just taken off. People have seen it, have liked it and are requesting it to be done on their dogs really. It's something we want to make bigger.
You kind of vet, excuse the pun, You vet the animal first before you actually do the pooch patch on them?
Yeah, we do, because obviously if the animal's quite nervous or jumpy, then there's no way we'd be able to do it, and it's just not worth it. The grooming takes roughly 2 hours to 2.5, but if you want the pooch patch, it's half an hour to 45 minutes. It's another half an hour for the dog to stand there if it's not completely comfortable, especially if it's the first time with us or it's quite young. Yeah, there's all different factors to consider, really.
And what's the average price of one?
Sort of £20 onwards.
But of course, it could be classed as defacing them.
It's to everyone's opinion. We can't please everyone. If people want something a bit different and snazzy, then it's for them. If it's not, then that's completely fine.
And what kind of dogs have you done it on? Because I can't see like an Alsatian having it done.
No, it's mainly done on short hair breeds. Otherwise, it won't be seen. Some people want things that we haven't done before, like One Direction sort of logo.
One Direction?
Yeah.
Are you thinking about doing more kind of diamantes even?
We're hoping to get the bling bling out there. It's all got to be doggy friendly though for health and safety. We want to dye the pooch patches as well, so yes.
You soon have a little catalogue available.
Yeah, hopefully.
There's our reporter Serena Farrow. One of the voices you heard there is Jessica Allegri, one of the owners of Groomers on the Green. Morning, Jessica.
Good morning.
What inspired you to come up with the pooch patch?
The truth is, we were bored one day at work. I had my dog in there, and we wanted to shave the logo into his fur. But as that's too difficult, we started off with a paw print, and it just all started from there.
How popular have they been?
To be honest, we haven't got, it's not out there a lot, really.
Right.
We've tried to get it out there, but we just need to keep it on the hush, really, because we don't want everyone else to start copying us. It's something that we started, so we don't want to make it ours.
Well, hang on a second, Jessica. You're saying you want to keep it on the hush. You're live on BBC Three Counties Radio. There are literally dozens of people listening to this.
Yeah, well, as from yesterday, we had a newspaper come in, and you obviously called us to do a little part on it. But before that, we kind of wanted to sort of keep it a bit hush-hush, but now it's everywhere.
What is the One Direction logo? I've not seen their logo.
It's like a number 1 and a capital D.
Oh, clever. I see what they've done there. Yeah, nice. Is it...
Simple.
Jessica, is it...
Yeah?
Listen, we should look after our pets and we should groom them, and of course we should, some pets need to have get their hair clipped and stuff like that. But really, is this fair to be doing this to a poor animal?
Well, it's not really a poor animal, is it? I mean, to be honest, it's just like having a haircut anyway. They come to us for their regular haircut.
Yeah.
We use clippers on their body, and it's only using a clipper on the body. We're not harming the dog in any way.
No, I'm sure there's no physical harm whatsoever, but it's a bit disrespectful, isn't it, to do that to an animal?
I think it's just a bit of fun, to be honest. People love to have fun with their dogs, and this is just another way of doing that.
OK, Jessica, stay there. I want to speak now to Pat Trussell from the RSPCA in East Herts. Morning, Pat.
Morning.
What do you make of this, grooming and shaving shapes into dogs' fur?
Personally, not RSPCA, but personally,
Yes.
I think it's a bit ridiculous. I really do.
It's just a bit of fun, though, Pat, isn't it?
Well, it may be fun, but you're making the animal look stupid. And why? I mean, I have a lovely boxer. I wouldn't disfigure him in any way. And, to do this is so unnecessary. Animals are abused so much today. And to do this deliberately, I think is stupid. I really do. And expensive.
Well, Jessica, there's an interesting point. How much would it cost, Jessica, for me to have the One Direction logo shaved into a dog?
Well, we start from £20, so depending on how hard the shape is to do, it starts from £20, no more than £30.
OK, it's not that expensive, Pat.
Well, it is. When you think of all the animals that are coming into our care daily, and we're having to fund these animals, that's a lot of money to me. It really is.
But Pat, if people are prepared to spend £25, £30 on their dog,
them,
but that shows that they love their dog, that they're looking after their dog.
Does it?
Well, Jessica, Pat's saying it's stupid.
Well, we don't think it's stupid. Obviously, it's not for everyone's discretion. Obviously, we think it's fun. It's only a little bit of fun. I mean, my boxer will lay down. He'll come over to us, lay by our feet and sit there. He'll sit there. He loves it. He loves it. Not every dog's going to want to stand there for the amount of time that it takes. But obviously, we won't be doing it on those sort of dogs, so...
Pat, dogs enjoy... I haven't got a dog now. I used to have a dog when I was younger. But they enjoy being pampered, don't they? And brushed and groomed.
Oh, yes, my dog enjoys being brushed. Yes, that's quite different to being shaved with various shapes on their backs. I mean...
Would you not fancy the One Direction logo on your boxer?
No, I wouldn't. It would spoil him. He's so lovely.
Jessica, she's got a point, hasn't she? The dogs are beautiful, even boxers as they are. Do we really need to add anything to them?
No, but like I say, it's just a bit of fun, and obviously it's not all over the dog. We're not going to start making the dog, shave patterns all over the dog's body. It's just a patch on the dog. So I think it's fun. I don't see the problem.
I can understand the fun aspect, but you'll get other people at home with shavers and trying to do it themselves, and then we'll have more big problems. And I can see this happening. And also, it won't be just one motif, it will be several. And then what happens to the poor dog? It lands up in the vet. This worries me.
Where do you take this next, Jessica? I mean, Diamante kind of studs? People have suggested of a jazzle. I don't know what that means. What kind of things? Where would we go now?
Well, all we're trying to do is start something different. I mean, hopefully we are going to make it bigger, and we will be using doggy-friendly accessories. We're just trying to come up with unique things that might work and might not work.
Pat, what clothes does your boxer like to wear?
He doesn't wear any.
Oh. Oh, we had a lady on earlier on who sells dresses for dogs.
Really, it is taking things to the extreme, isn't it?
Do you not think a dog would like to wear a dress?
No, I don't think he would.
What about a lady dog? Would a lady dog like a dress?
No, I don't think so. I like a dog to be a dog, and in its natural surroundings, and none of this diamantes and whatever. I think it's just silly. I really do.
How old's your dog, Pat?
He's a rescue. He's 8 years old. We adopted him a few months ago.
Fantastic. Well, listen, good, Pat. Good for you. Thank you very much for coming on, Pat Trussell from the RSPCA in East Hearts. Jessica, so you're going to carry on with this? Are you hoping to get lots of bookings for this?
Yeah, we'll be definitely carrying on. I mean, we're hoping to get lots of bookings in the future.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much, Jessica Allegri, one of the owners of Groomers on the Green. What do you think? Do you think it's ridiculous, or is it just come on, it's just a little bit of fun, isn't it? Let's have a quick look at the Facebook pages. Trudy says, they're dogs, not blooming accessories. Dobbs says, just naff. Pete Clark says, ha ha ha, I want one. I want one. Lisa Fitzgerald says, tat is just sad. Gary, no, it's mad. Leave the poor dogs alone. Mark Emmett, I suppose it'll be okay to dye the dog's hair pink, though. Oh, leave it at Mark, please. That was yesterday. Horrible. They look like they're in the first stages of mange, says Zoe. As bad as pink Diamante collars and silly clothes. Not saying... Most people not enjoying it on there. What do you think? 08459 455 555. John Mitchell on Twitter says, this dog shaving caper sounds a bit chavvy, don't you think? I'm not one for dressing up our pets and doing silly things to them. I kind of think they're leave them as they are. Apart from the St Bernards with the brandy barrel around his neck. That's cute. Oh, a brandy barrel around a dog's neck. That's genius. The rest of it, though, I'm not sure. 08459 455 555. Right, travel news, Sophie Tyler.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
London bound on the M1, we're looking at delays between junction 11 at Dunstable and 9 at Redbourne, and anti-clockwise on the M25, delays of over an hour between junction 21 at the M1 through to 15 at the M4. London bound on the M40, also looking very slow between junction 1A at the M25 and junction 1 at the Denham roundabout this morning. While heading south on the A1, more delays between the St Neots junction and the Black Cat roundabout heading down the Great North Road, and the Barnet bypass still slow as well between Stirling Corner and the Watford bypass. bypass. Everything else not looking too bad. Trains are moving nicely. But if you spot anything we're not talking about, give us a call in the studio. Do be sure to let us know. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Sophie. Morning, 7:45, Tuesday the 12th of February. These are your headlines this morning on BBC Three Counties Radio. A St Albans campaigner has won his fight to give police new powers to suspend the licences of drivers found with dangerously bad eyesight. Parents in Luton need to take more responsibility for their children's education if GCSE results are ever going to improve. That's according to one local councillor. In sport, Liverpool's hopes of European football glory suffered a blow as they lost 2-0 at home to West Brom, who now move above them into 8th place in the Premier League table. Coming up, the decision by the Pope to stand down is provoking intense speculation about who might be chosen to succeed him. Before 8, we'll find out what a change in leader could mean to the Catholic Church. But before that, let's get the latest weather. Here's Kate Kinsella.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Well, it's another cold and frosty start to the day. Temperatures across the three counties are down to 0 or just sneaking below. Out towards Buckingham, it's -1. Milton Keynes around 0, so we have got pockets of frost out there. It's a much quieter day today. We have still got 1 or 2 snow flurries possible as we head through the course of the morning and indeed into the afternoon, but less so than yesterday and more towards higher ground as well. So most of us, it's just going to be grey, dry and rather dull. Certainly very cold. It's a little less heavy, a little less strong, the wind today, but it is still from the northeast, so it's still very, very chilly. So you are going to feel that. Now, if you are heading out, temperatures aren't going to get much above what they are now. We're looking at a maximum of just 2 Celsius, 36 degrees in Fahrenheit. Now, overnight tonight, cloudy to start with, then we'll see a few breaks in the cloud, and when it does break, we will see the temperature drop right down below 0, looking at a minimum of -2. That's 28 degrees in Fahrenheit. Even inside towns and city, we're getting down to 0, so we can expect a frost overnight. In some places, it will be quite a hard frost, icy surfaces throughout tomorrow morning as well. But the cloud starts to move away towards dawn, really, tomorrow morning. So that paves the way to a brighter start to Wednesday. Bit of sunshine even, dare I say it, but it will be frosty. We'll be scraping our windscreens merrily in the sunshine. The cloud will roll in, though, through the course of the day, and by the time we get to evening, we could actually see a little bit of sleet or snow arrive. That will turn overnight to rain and drizzle as the temperature warms up slightly. Maximum temperature tomorrow, it's still going to be cold, I'm afraid. 3 Celsius, 37 degrees in Fahrenheit. That's your forecast.
Thank you very much. Tonight, there's an action-packed Three Counties sport.
Back into the box, Ronnie Henry's in there! And it's a goal for Luton!
Luton travel south to face Dartford in the conference. MK Dons have a tough trip away to title-chasing Doncaster.
It's a header, is it? And it's in! It's a goal! It's Anthony Kay who's equalised!
And Stevenage are in the capital to take on Brentford.
What a strike from the Stevenage midfielder!
Three Counties Sport, tonight from 7 on BBC Three Counties Radio. Talking about shaving pets and shaving shapes and signs and logos into pets. I hope they've got permission to use the One Direction logo, otherwise there could be serious legal ramifications. Rachel is on the line. Morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Ian. How are you?
I'm OK, thank you. You run a pet salon in Biggleswade, is that correct?
I do, Hollywood Dogs.
Well done for you. Excellent plug. Now, would you ever shave the One Direction logo into a dog?
I don't think I would, no.
Why?
Personally, for me, I think it's a bit only way as Essex, which is not really my taste.
Mm.
And I think I'd go against doing something that was as permanent as that. I mean, we've done, fun things, but always things that are semi-permanent that will come out.
Well, it will grow out, won't it, of the dog? The little shaving, it'll grow out eventually.
Oh, yeah, it'll grow out, but it won't look very nice when it grows out. It's a bit like when people have it in their hair. It kind of, when it's growing out, it never looks as good.
The old tram lines, although I think they've moved on a bit since then. So you say you do things that are semi-permanent to dogs. What things do you do to dogs in Hollywood?
More like sort of styling and things like that, styling hair into like Mohicans, and I've had customers that have put semi-permanent colour on, on their dogs. I once dyed my own dog pink, but that was many, many years ago.
Hang on a minute, Rachel, hang on a minute. So you think it's a little bit naff, right?
Yeah.
To shave the One Direction logo into a dog?
Yes.
But giving it a Mohican and dyeing it pink, that's not naff, yeah?
Well, that was about 9 years ago that I did that, and I think things have moved on a bit since then.
Well, the question is, have you moved on a bit since then, Rachel?
Most definitely.
Rachel, listen, thank you very much for that. That's Rachel there, who's moved on a little bit since dying. This whole dying thing's pink. It got me in so much trouble yesterday with Helen Mirren. Over 100 comments on the Facebook page about that yesterday. Rachel, thank you very much. 08459 455 555. So, Bill Roach, who plays Ken Barlow in Coronation Street, right? He's 80. He's looking good for 80, I think. He split up with his girlfriend, who's 44. He's almost twice her age. Because Roach, 80, is a member of religious cult the Pure Love Movement and had predicted that the world would change unrecognisably in December last year with the start of a golden age, ending war, poverty and famine. Miss Jesson, his former girlfriend, 44, who dated Roach for 3 years, said it was to do with the end of the world. It was always going to come to a climax in December. His spirituality became more and more of a priority. But then listen to this. Last year, Bill Roach claimed to have slept with around 1,000 women. I didn't have any control over my own sex drive, he admitted. Really? Listen, I know he was a bit of a mover and a shaker in Coronation Street with Deirdre Barlow, née Rashid, and some other ladies. I can't remember who he had it with in there, but he slept with over 1,000 women? Bill Roach? This is all in the Mail. There's another great story in the Mail. I know, there's a sentence I never thought I'd say without my tongue in my cheek. There is a gentleman here, David St. John. That's a good name. I'm David St. John. I want to make love to you. He's 64 years old. He's been on 27 television game shows starting in 1982. Okay, so he's been on it for a long time. And he's been on Eggheads, The Chase, Weakest Link, Sale of the Century, loads of stuff. Okay, so you think, wow, this guy is living the dream. David St. John must be making a fortune. 27 TV appearances since 1982. Over the decades, Mr. St. John, a professional comedy entertainer, reckons he's won about £5,000 in cash, holidays and other prizes. Well, come on! £5,000 for 30 years' work? That's not brilliant, is it? I wonder if he's been on... There's a new show that I've not seen, apparently, that sounds like the kind of nonsense I could sit through and watch just on a loop. You know, Laura, producer Laura, what's that programme called, the Penny Shove programme?
Where the coins fall down?
Yeah.
Is it something drop?
Penny Drop, let's call it.
Let's call it Penny Drop.
And it's Ben Shepherd. So what happens in it? You were trying to explain this to me and I didn't quite get it.
So Ben Shepherd's the host, and he asks questions to... There's 4 people, I think, and they buzz in when they know the right answer. And if they get the right answer, then they get a coin that they can then put in the machine. They press a button, the coin goes in the machine, and then it sends other coins over the edge, and then those coins push the other ones over the other edge, and then they build up money.
This is like the tuppenny thing you get in the fair?
Yeah, your 2p.
How much money? Are they playing with 2p's, or are they playing with bigger money?
They're playing with bigger money, and if they get the most amount of money, they then go through to the end round where the task is to get the big star coin, the red one.
Guess the weight of the lady, yes.
Out of the machine.
Right.
And then if they do, they win £10,000.
Well, that's not bad.
And if they don't, they get to keep the money that they've made throughout the programme, which is usually about £3,000. I've clearly watched this too much.
And this goes on for an hour.
And it goes on for an hour. And at the end, if you missed anything, they give you a recap.
They give you a recap. Thank you very much for that. I've never seen this show. I'm hunting it down. It sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Sounds fantastic. Now, on to slightly more serious matters, or maybe not serious. It depends on your opinion on organised religion. Pope Benedict XVI has resigned. He told his cardinals it was due to his advanced age and his incapacity to carry out his ministry. He's likely to be replaced by an Italian or a European pope. I think Italy is still in Europe, who shares his conservative views. We can talk now to our religious affairs correspondent, Alex Strangeways-Booth. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning.
What does this mean for Catholics in England?
Well, you know, Pope Benedict visited this country in 2010 and it gave the Catholic Church here a real sense of renewal, a jolt in the arm, one Catholic told me yesterday. And the numbers of people turning out to see him were admittedly far fewer than the numbers who turned out to see John Paul II when he came in the early 80s, but the crowds who did come were absolutely fervent. I was in Glasgow and Birmingham for the open-air masses there, and there was real passion and love for him among the crowds. And many people say his visit especially inspired younger Catholics who knew him better than Pope John Paul II. And he spoke at Westminster Hall to politicians during his visit and said that Christians needed to be able to speak out about their faith, and faith needed to have a place in public life, which is something very current at the moment. You know, we're seeing quite a lot of Christians going to the European Court of Human Rights, for example, saying that they've been discriminated against on the grounds of their faith. So, you know, he struck a chord, I think, with English Catholics who've grown to love him.
What's the relationship like with the Anglican Church?
Well, you know, the Catholic Church and the Anglican Church in England have had an increasingly strong and good relationship over the last 20 years, and ecumenical relationships, opening their churches to each other. So it's always been a strong relationship. Benedict was responsible, though, for creating this bit of the Catholic Church called the English Ordinariate, where Anglicans can go if they're disillusioned with the Anglican Church and the way it's going with creating women bishops, for example. And he came under a little bit of criticism for doing that because he hadn't really discussed it, according to some Anglicans. He hadn't discussed it fully with the Anglican Church, and there was a real fear that there'd be a massive exodus of Anglicans to the Catholic Church. But that didn't happen, actually, and far fewer people went to join the Ordinariate than was predicted. So, you know, that panned out okay in the end. And the new Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, is very keen on the Catholic Church and Catholic theology and has spoken about his love for it. And one of his mentors is a Catholic monk. He spent time in a monastery in France. It's a real part of his kind of profile. So whoever becomes Pope next will already have a sort of strong starting point with English Catholics, I think.
Well, who's in line for the papal job? Because I'm hearing stories that we might have a black pope. Is that possible? Like the Catholic Church and the Pope in particular, to me, seems very conservative, and it doesn't seem to me that it's ready for that kind of bold statement.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because no Catholic bishop or anybody I've spoken to has mentioned any names at all. So the names which are being mentioned are pure speculation in the press, really. Oh. But a lot of people would like to see an African or a South American pope, because these are the areas which have really grown. The church has grown massively during the time that Benedict's been pope. So we're hearing the name Cardinal Peter Turkson, who's from Ghana, also John Onyekan, who's from Nigeria, and an Argentine Cardinal Leonardo Sandri, who comes from Latin America. But, you know, these cardinals will be conservative. The Catholic Church in Africa and Latin America is a conservative church. It's not... I mean, there's some radicals in South America, but, you know, it would still... The Pope would still be conservative, but just... it would give the church a very different look, and I think there are more Italian and cardinals from other places in Europe who might be more likely to get the job, but Alex, you never know.
Finally, to throw this at you, the papal chair, is it a fact or myth that they had a lady pope one year, and to make sure they were never duped again, they had this chair where the pope's gentleman's bits would hang down, someone would reach behind and go, "Yep, that's a bloke." Is that true or is that a myth?
Sorry. I am unable to confirm or deny this story.
Oh, don't you know?
For you.
Have you never heard of that?
I've not heard that, no.
Oh, I've given you something.
I don't know, it wouldn't surprise me, though.
Pope Joan, apparently, was the lady pope, and to make sure they were... Well, go and have a look, Alex, and maybe we'll speak at a later date about it. Thank you very much, Alex Strangeways Booth. She's our religious affairs correspondent. I may have just educated her or corrupted her. I don't know. We're still trying to find out whether the papal chair is... I'm so sorry, I put her on the spot now. I feel terrible for the poor lady. She's doing an excellent job, and I throw that nonsense at her. Thank you, Alex. You've been a good sport. We shall pursue this further. Travel news now, Sophie Tyler.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Still looking much the same at the moment. London bound on the M1, we're looking at delays between 11 at Dunstable and 9 at Redbourne, and anti-clockwise on the M25 also have delays of around an hour and 10 minutes between junction 21 at the M1 and 15 at the M4. London bound on the M40 also looking at delays between 1A at the M25 and 1 for the Denham roundabout, and southbound on the A1 more delays on the Great North Road between St Neots Junction and the Black Cat roundabout, and the Barnet bypass also slow between Stirling Corner and Mill Hill Circus. Trains running to time at the moment. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Sophie. So far this morning we've discussed shaving the One Direction logo into dogs and checking whether the Pope is a man by reaching underneath a chair. Lots more coming up in the last hour of the show. I'm so going to...
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Catherine Boyle. The headlines: driver eyesight victory for St Albans campaigner, Luton parents told to take more of an interest, and Hertfordshire salon criticised over dog tattoos.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
St Albans campaigner has won his fight to give police new powers to suspend the licences of drivers found with dangerously bad eyesight. Sam McCord's teenage sister was killed by a driver who'd failed a roadside eye test but was able to get back behind the wheel. Thanks to his petition, Cassie's Law will now enable police to suspend that type of motorist's licence within hours. Sam told Iain Lee it's gone a small way to helping his family deal with what's happened.
They say time's a healer. It's obviously one thing that's yet to be seen. It's been difficult. It's been difficult over the past couple of years. However, with the petition, it's made it slightly easier, knowing that nobody else can suffer the same way that we have.
Barclays Bank has announced it's cutting 3,700 jobs. Just over half will be axed from its investment banking division in the UK, while the rest will go from its European operations. A Luton politician is hitting out at parents who take no interest in their children's education. Labour Borough Councillor and Parent Governor Jackie Burnett says mums and dads must get involved if GCSE results are ever going to improve. And she says working parents have no excuse.
Parents are busy, so if they can't attend parents' evening because they're doing a shift work job, try and go afterwards, because finding out there's a problem, your child ain't on target when the academic year's about to finish or they're about to take exams, is a bit late.
The European Union's called a meeting to discuss the discovery of horse meat in food products labelled as beef. In the UK, horse meat's been found so far in burgers and ready meals, including lasagna and spaghetti bolognese. A stricter testing regime's being introduced in France, where some of the wrongly labelled products sold in England were made. What's thought to be the world's oldest pancake race is set to be held in Buckinghamshire this afternoon. It's thought the Olney tradition began in 1445 when a woman who was late for church ran out of her house, frying pan in hand. And a grooming parlour in Brookmans Park is claiming to have launched the UK's first ever dog tattoos. There's no ink or needles involved. The patterns are shaved into the coats of short-haired breeds and will eventually grow out. Groomers on the Green say the technique's proving a big hit with owners. However, it's gone down like a lead balloon with Pat Trussell from the East Herts RSPCA.
I have a lovely boxer. I wouldn't disfigure him in any way. And, to do this is so unnecessary. And to do this deliberately, I think is stupid. I really do. And expensive.
In sport, England's cricketers are now batting in the second 2020 international against New Zealand in Hamilton. A short time ago, they were 18 for 2, chasing a target of 193. The weather cloudy and cold, but staying dry with a top temperature of 4 degrees Celsius. That's 39 Fahrenheit. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio. First for news.
This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 3 minutes past 8. Lots coming up in the last hour of the show. I'll give you the contact details in a bit. But here's what we're talking about. See if any of this strikes a chord. Police are to get tougher powers to tackle drivers that they believe are unfit to drive. It's all down to a St Albans man's campaign. We'll hear from the Institute of Advanced Motorists to see what they think. And parents, do more to help your kids in school. Well, that's what a Luton councillor is saying. It could help boost their GCSE results. How much do you think mums and dads should do? And at just after 6 o'clock this morning, I sent out reporter Sophie Solaria on a secret mission. She picked a place name randomly out of her hat. She chose Kempston, and she needs to find a story there before 9 o'clock. Otherwise, she's fired. Yeah, I've just had a bit of tension we've added to it there. Last time we spoke to her, she was loitering by the recycling bins in the high street. Who's going to be recycling at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning? We'll catch up with her soon and see if she's made any progress at all. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can text 81333, start your text 3CR, or give me a call, 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio. We're still trying to find out if this papal chair is truth or myth.
Now, new powers have been given to police to get drivers with bad eyesight off the road. That's following a campaign by a man from St Albans. 16-year-old Cassie McCord was killed when a car mounted the pavement. The driver had already failed a roadside eye test after an earlier crash a few days before. Her brother, Sam McCord, campaigned for police to have more powers to suspend driving licences, and now it can be done in a matter of hours. Sam spoke to me earlier.
They say time's a healer. It's obviously one thing that's yet to be seen. We've all pulled together. It's been difficult. It's been difficult over the past couple of years. However, with the petition, it's made it slightly easier, knowing that nobody else can suffer the same way that we have.
Well, you've achieved something which is remarkable and deserves to be applauded, and it's taken place. It's happening. You've won this.
It has, yeah. Now that there's a new procedural improvement on the back of the Cassie's Law petition, that obviously now, as opposed to it taking days to revoke the licence of somebody who's deemed dangerous on the road by the police, it can now take a couple of hours.
You say that this gentleman who killed your sister had been involved in a similar incident a few days before.
Yep.
If Cassie's Law had been in place 2 years ago, do you think that your sister would still be around?
Most definitely, yeah. Most definitely.
Listening to that is Tim Shallcross from the Institute of Advanced Motorists. Morning, Tim.
Good morning.
What do you think of these new powers?
I think they're a very good thing. I think most people would be quite surprised that it used to take the days that it did, because everything was done by post. Now, finally, the police and the DVLA have agreed procedures, prompted by Sam and his campaigners, who've done a fantastic job in getting officialdom to move on this. And now, if the police feel that somebody's sight is not good enough for them to drive, they can temporarily revoke that driving licence immediately, subject to confirmation later on by the DLA. But the important thing is a dangerous driver can be removed from the road immediately.
It did. When we were talking about this yesterday, in the sort of little meeting that we have from time to time, I couldn't believe that the police didn't have the power to take someone's licence off them immediately before this. You would just assume it's an obvious thing. If someone's eyesight isn't up to scratch and the police can prove that, wallop, I'm having your licence and your car keys.
Well, absolutely, and most people would be. I was totally surprised when I first heard it as well, that back when this incident and one or two others happened. And, you know, common sense has now come and prevailed. It's a legacy of procedures that weren't updated in the past. When we didn't have things like email and smartphones and so on, it was, well, you've got to fill in form 1, 2, 3, 4A in triplicate, paragraph subsection C, and post it to there, and they'll post it to somebody else. And the whole thing was bureaucratic, took time. We've cut through all that now, and, you know, hopefully this sort of incident will be much less common in the future. But I must say, it is extremely rare. I mean,
yes.
Eyesight is a contributory factor to well under 1% of crashes. Well under 1%.
Should there be compulsory eyesight testing, do you think, Tim?
Well, what I've just said is the key thing there. It's about 0.2% of fatal crashes and 0.4% of injury crashes where the police feel that poor eyesight was a factor. Now, given that we've had huge slashes in the budgets for road safety already, in England the budget has been cut from £19 million just 3 years ago down to £3.7 million this year. Given that kind of cut in road safety budgets, do we really want to put resources into compulsory eye testing that is frankly a cause of a tiny number of crashes? Let's focus on the bigger issues. I mean, the most common cause of crashes or contributory factor to crashes is people looked but didn't see.
Should individual drivers be worried that maybe their eyesight isn't up to scratch? There is a chance that if people realise that they can have their driving licences taken away, they might not go for that eye test, or they might just try and hide it as best as possible.
This is something that we all struggle with as we get older, or maybe as our parents get older or other relatives get older. There comes a time when you start to think, is Auntie really safe to be on the road? And then it's a question of sitting down, talking to them. Now, everybody should have an eye test at least every 2 years. All the eyesight experts agree on this. So check if you've got an elderly relative, or ask yourself, properly, should I be going to have my eyes tested? Because often, an eyesight condition can be corrected. Now, there are certain things that do happen anyway as we get older. I get complaints all the time from people who say, why aren't headlights adjusted properly these days? I keep getting blinded by them. In most cases, it's not the headlights that aren't adjusted properly these days. It's just that as we get older, our eyes become less able to adapt quickly to changes in light. So we find lights at night more dazzling. This is just something that happens as we get older. We become more averse to nighttime driving. If that's extreme, consider trying to drive outside the hours of darkness.
Tim, listen, thank you very much indeed. Tim Shallcross from the Institute of Advanced Motorists. 08459 455 555. Helen from Milton Keynes has texted 81333, starting the text 3CR, putting her name on. Well done. Only read texts with names on this show. I worked in an optician's, she says. We regularly had people of all ages whose eyesight precluded them from legally driving. Even after being told this, they would still drive. Eyesight tests should be part of a more regular health check for motorists of all ages. Well, Jonathan Vernon-Smith will be continuing to discuss this on the big phone-in at 9. He's asking, should 70-year-olds have to take another driving test? You can start getting in touch with Jonathan now. You can email him, jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. Put your phone number and your details and maybe a line about what you want to say. Or you can start calling 08459 455 555. We'll steal the best phone calls for this show, and the rest we'll be speaking to Jonathan Vernon-Smith after 9 o'clock. Should we have a quick look at the front pages of the newspapers? For some reason, I'm lacking the Express, and I feel like I'm missing something. I want to know what the... Should we have a guess what the front page of the Express will be? It'll be either a new drug for Alzheimer's, could be migrants, or it could be mortgages. It could be weather, couldn't it? Could be weather. There's a website that will tell me what the front page of it is. I'm going to say it's migrants, I think. Probably going to be. Let's have a little look. Front Pages today is a great resource for lazy people. The Daily Express. Oh my goodness. Oh no, it's the Pope. It's the Pope and Adele. Well, there's a twist. Shockers, frail Pope resigns. They are all about the Pope, really. Perhaps I could have guessed that if I'd been a little bit more astute. The Guardian. Bolt from the blue. Is this a real picture? There's an amazing picture of lightning flashes above St. Peter's in Rome after Pope Benedict XVI said he was resigning as Pope. If that picture's real, which I don't believe it is for a second, was that really, after he announced it, there was a lightning strike above St. Peter's in Rome? It's an amazing photograph. And Tesco say Bolognese range is 60% horse meat. The Independent. Situation vacant. New leader wanted for 1.2 billion Roman Catholics. Frail Benedict XVI becomes the first pope to resign for nearly 600 years. It's interesting. I was listening to another phone-in show yesterday, and we've kind of put it out this morning. Not many people phoning in. We've had no one phone in, as far as I'm aware, to express outrage or shock or upset or disappointment. It seems like the whole world is doing a collective shrug of the shoulders and going, yeah... OK. Is anyone bothered? Well, let's put this out now, between now and 9 o'clock. Is anyone bothered that the Pope has resigned? 08459 455 555. The front pages would have us think so. The Times. I'm too frail to go on, he says. The Daily Telegraph. I'm too frail in mind and body to carry on. Is anybody listening to this actually bothered that the Pope has resigned? 08459 455 555. Between now and 9 o'clock. Little straw poll. Completely unscientific. Lovelocks. Oh, this is interesting. This is again the Telegraph. The key to romance or a bridge too far. Some people say it with chocolates. Others say it with flowers. But now a growing number of people are showing their affection with lovelocks. Was it Copenhagen? Is Copenhagen... I'm going to say a really silly thing. Is Copenhagen in Germany? Where is it then? Denmark. It's in Denmark, is it? Where was I in Germany then? That sounds like Copenhagen. I was somewhere in Germany where they have this bridge that's covered with these padlocks, thousands of padlocks. And they're doing it in London, are they? 2 days before Valentine's Day, hundreds of padlocks bearing the names of lovers have appeared across bridges in London. It's a custom that's thought to have originated in Hungary, Where did I go to in Germany? That's confusing. I've only been once. And the reason I remembered it was, A, there's thousands of padlocks on a bridge. You would remember it. There was a huge padlock, the size of a baby, locked to the bridge. And we thought, oh, this is interesting. Who's this from? It was from Chris de Burgh, the pop singer. And it said Chris de Burgh, Cologne. That was it. I was in Cologne. Thank you. Yes. Cologne. It was Chris de Burgh. To all my fans, love, Chris de Burgh, a very special relationship. What? That's weird, isn't it? Very quickly, the Daily Mail. My 2-day diet cut my weight by 2 stone and my risk of breast cancer by 40%. Hey, that's not going to get people jumping on the bandwagon, is it? Goodness sakes. And The Sun, England's £40,000 for Gaza. 08459 455 555 8:15. Let's get the travel news now. Ms. Tyler.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Heading London bound on the M1, still looking at delays between 11 at Dunstable and 9 at Redbourne, and anti-clockwise on the M25, still looking slow between junction 21 at the M1 all the way through to 15 at the M4. Going to be taking you about an hour to get through that stretch, I'm afraid. And also heading north on the A6141, that's the High Street, heading through Baldock. It looks like we have reports of hazardous driving conditions out there following an oil spillage, just heading north at Belrose, just outside the Zeus Hotel and Restaurant, so do be aware heading up in that direction. Everything else not actually looking too bad at the moment. Usual delays heading south on the A10 around Turnford. Also fairly slow as well on the Barnet Bypass. Heading south around Stirling Corner, but nothing too out the ordinary there. Trains also still looking good this morning. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Sophie. Earlier on we sent Sophie Solaria out. I've not heard back from her for ages. Is she alive? Is she well? We'll find out later on if she's discovered any stories. But now at 8:16 on Tuesday, the 12th of February, these are your headlines this morning on BBC Three Counties Radio. A St Albans campaigner has won his fight to give police new powers to tackle drivers found to have dangerously bad eyesight. Barclays Bank has announced it's cutting 3,700 jobs. Just over half will go from its UK-based investment banking division. In sport, New Zealand have set England a target of 193 to win the second 2020 match in Hamilton this morning. The weather today for Beds, Hearts and Bucks, cloudy and dry. It's cold, top temperature 4 degrees. Coming up, parents in Luton, you need to take more responsibility for your children's education if GCSE results are ever going to improve. That's according to one local councillor. Should parents take more of an active interest in their children's education? 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On Valentine's Day, BBC Three Counties Radio is broadcasting live for 24 hours.
We'll be broadcasting live from your town, your city, your village.
I'm here in Kings Langley.
I'm here in Leighton Buzzard.
Live in the centre of Aylesbury.
We're putting together a very special 24 hours in the life of Beds, Hearts and Bucks.
We'll be all over the three counties covering the stories that matter to you.
Welwyn Garden City has a new look library.
66 stores will be closing, including those in Luton, Watford and St Albans.
Officials in Bedford say they're extremely pleased.
24 hours in Beds, Hearts and Bucks.
Starts Valentine's Day morning at 9
on BBC Three Counties Radio.
I know.
Yeah.
Jonathan Vernon Smith has walked in. We're both wearing our jumpers. Yours is not stained.
No, that's very true. Mine's not.
What did you suggest my stain might be?
Well, I don't know. What have you spilt down yourself? Is that a pina colada or something? It's a little bit...
Was that what you said earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Oh,
what did you hear?
I thought I heard... No, maybe I heard something...
You wouldn't have heard that.
No, not at all. Not something vulgar. Not from your mouth.
No.
Something vulgar coming out of your mouth.
This is very clean.
I should hope so too. It really is marvellous to see you.
Is
morning.
it?
Yes. You're a little bit late coming down.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Was there a problem?
Well, I suddenly looked at my watch and I thought, oh my God.
Yes.
Not quite my words.
No.
And I said, I've got to get downstairs. So I legged it.
Yes.
As only I can. I've got a funny run.
You have got a funny run. You got to... Can I be frank? You have a very odd body. You do. No, you don't. I don't mean that to sound rude. You have a strange gait.
Yes. I walk like a duck.
You do walk like a duck. You do.
It's true. I'm well aware of this.
Okay, good. I'm not pointing
don't worry. It's not... Well, I'm pleased you pointed it out to everyone else listening.
Well, no, I don't want to focus on body issues too much, because I know it can be damaging, but I just,
Why, are you worried I might go and, self-harm because you told me I'd walk like a duck?
I would hate to get one of your stinging emails off air later on, which I have been the recipient.
Iain Lee said I walk like a duck. How dare he?
Yeah, wait till I tell them what you said was on my jumper. Now, what's coming up on your show this morning?
Coming up on the big phone in, we're moving this discussion you've been having on a level at 9. We're moving it to a higher level. I like to think
we're moving your discussion on a level. Oh, good.
From 9.
See what you do with it.
I'm asking: should 70-year-olds have to take another driving test? As you've been discussing this morning, a man from Hertfordshire who's successfully campaigned to make it easier for police to get drivers with poor eyesight off the road says he now wants to see drivers over 70 retested. Sam McCord's 16-year-old sister, Cassie, she was killed 2 years ago when an 87-year-old driver mounted the pavement and struck her. Well, from 9 this morning, I want to hear from you. Should 70-year-olds have to take another driving test? Do you know any drivers of 70?
No. I've made my views on this very, very clear in the past, but I got such a terrible kicking on Facebook yesterday, I'm keeping them to myself.
Many years ago, on another radio station, I said... And I was mistaken to say, I was young and naive.
Yes.
I said that if I had my way, I'd take all elderly drivers off the road. When I came off air, there was a lady standing in reception with a handbag in her hand, and she was clasping the hand of this handbag. And she said to the receptionist, "Is this him?" And the receptionist said, "Yes, that's him." With that, she came up, she struck me with her handbag.
She handbagged you?
She handbagged me in reception.
Ouch.
And said she was going to listen to Jeremy Vine.
Oh, is Jeremy Vine on the radio? What time?
Yeah, he's quite good.
I'll have to check him out. I'll Google him. You got handbagged by a lady?
She whacked me with her handbag. It's the one and only time I've ever been handbagged.
It's better than... Anyway, lovely to... Oh, have you not finished?
No, I finished.
Well, good. Off on your way, then.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.
It was awkward this morning, wasn't it?
Bye-bye!
Sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's very painful.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Always worth a listen, and I think today's going to be a feisty one. Jonathan Vernon Smith at 9, 08459 455 555 is the phone number. Or you can send him an email now, jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. Now, parents in Luton need to take more of an active interest in their children's education to improve GCSE results in the area. That's according to the Labour councillor for Limbury in Luton. I do like saying that. Jackie Burnett, who is also a governor at 2 Luton primary schools, told us earlier that parents should get more involved as teachers can only do so much.
I hear reports of we're running homework clubs and parents don't make sure that the children attend or homework is not completed. Now, if the teachers are setting homework, it's really important for the parents to make sure that the child does the homework. If they're struggling, raise it with the teachers and say, "Oh, my son or my daughter is struggling with this." But to me, the parent needs to know what is going on. Attend parents' evening, ask questions. Parents are busy, so if they can't attend parents' evening because they're doing a shift work job, try and go afterwards, because things are going on during the school year, and finding out there's a problem, your child ain't on target when the academic year's about to finish or they're about to take exams, is a bit late.
But there are single parents, there are parents that are working 2-3 jobs, there are parents that haven't got the time to do this thing, to check on their children's homework or to go to parents' evening or to make them a packed lunch or do these things.
I'm a person who has been a single parent.
Yeah.
I've done it for nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and I've taken the time, and I've done 2 jobs as well. Yeah. It's just about planning. What I used to do, because parents' evening used to be suddenly upon me a week before, I would phone up the school 6 weeks before and find out, have you set the date for parents' evening?
Yeah.
Because I know sometimes things just happen, and as a parent, when you're single or 2 jobs, you can't just suddenly change things. If I couldn't make a meeting, I would phone the school and say, "Can I arrange a meeting with you at a more convenient time?" And I would suggest the times that I can make it.
Well, Glynis Cosma is from Hertfordshire. She's author of the books Secondary School and Leaving Home, and she's a former teacher. Morning, Glynis.
Good morning, Iain.
What's your view on this? How much should parents get involved with their kids' education?
I agree 100% with Jackie. I think education really is a partnership. It's a partnership between the school and the parents. And as a parent, you really can't be too involved, I think, in your child's education. It's well documented that motivation amongst children is really dependent to a great deal on the expectations that their parents have of them. So if you're not really interested in your child's education, I do believe this can have a serious detrimental effect.
Do you not think, though, that parents can be too pushy by signing you up for the homework club and the ballet and the karate, and you're going to go off and have lessons on Saturday to learn Chinese and all of these different things? Is there not a danger that children won't get to enjoy their childhoods?
Well, I think you're talking about two different things there, Ian, because really you're confusing the issue. You're talking about academic subjects, but you're also talking about extracurricular activities.
Right.
And
well, it's their education.
Oh, yes, they're educational, but I think, parents need to prioritise. And if your child, hasn't mastered the basics of English and maths, then no, you shouldn't be dragging them off to Chinese lessons necessarily on a Saturday morning. So it is a case of priorities, and I do agree. I mean, I do think many children are overstretched with out-of-school activities, but that doesn't mean that parents, shouldn't be involved in what's going on in school.
How do you get a stroppy 14-year-old to do their homework?
I agree, it's very difficult, but I think, one of the things that parents really need to focus on and to talk to their children about are the rewards further down the line if they do focus on their homework. Obviously, when you're 14, you're not perhaps thinking about what you're going to do when you're 21. But as we all know, I mean, in the current economic climate, it's very difficult for graduates even to get jobs. So if you're a 14-year-old and leaving school with very weak qualifications, your future prospects are very limited. And, these are the things that parents really need to be driving home to their children.
But I remember being 14 and my friends being 14, and some of them appreciated that. Some of them had the foresight to be able to see how important these things were in the future. But a lot didn't. At 14, you're indestructible and you've got no responsibility, no real responsibilities. Life's going to carry on like that forever.
I do agree that you can lead a horse to water, etc., etc. But at the same time, I think, parents can often find ways to help motivate their child. But ultimately, it is down to the teenager. And I recently wrote a feature for a parenting magazine, which was called Sometimes You Have to Let Your Child Fail, which means, unfortunately, if your child is completely turned off education, then you do perhaps, at some stage have to stand back, and they will have to find out for themselves, when they reach 16, 17, 18, that they need to do an awful lot of catching up.
That's interesting, yes. That's very interesting. Glynis, listen, thank you very much for that. Glynis Cosma, Hertfordshire. She's the author of the book Secondary School and Leaving Home. I do think that as a parent that your responsibility continues. It's easy for me to say, because I do a stupid job that means I'm home by about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I can sit with my boys and read to them and, do some writing with them and do some painting with them. Oh, my eldest yesterday. So we're in the new house and he discovered the box that the paints were in, his paints, not the house paints. And so he took his top off and was painting the box, which is fine, fair enough. And then the baby woke up. I went to get the baby. I came back. Literally 20 seconds later, he painted his whole body bright red. It looked like there'd been a massacre. Honestly, it looked like he picked up a knife. The only reason I knew he hadn't is he was laughing. His whole body was bright red. And I said, right, do not touch anything. We are going to the bathroom. Do not touch anything. The banisters, the wall, the stair gates, the doors, they're all covered in red paint. They're all covered in red paint. And in 12 years' time, I'm supposed to get him to do his homework when I can't even stop him painting his belly red? Rant over. I'm glad I got that off my chest. And his belly, eventually. Travel News, Sophie Tyler.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Heading north on the High Street, that's the A6141 through Baldock. We are getting reports that it is still fairly hazardous conditions out there following an earlier oil spillage. It's just around Bell Road, just outside Zeus Hotel and Restaurant. Moving on to the motorways, London bound on the M1, looking slow still between 11 at Dunstable and 9 at Redbourne. And southbound again on the M1, also slow around 14 at Milton Keynes, and anti-clockwise on the M25 between 21 at the M1 all the way through to 15 at the M4. It is looking like it's going to take you over an hour to get through that stretch stretch, I'm afraid. Everything else not looking too bad. Usual delays away you'd expect for this time in the morning, but nothing that's going to be holding you up for too long. Trains also looking good on the departure boards at the moment. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Sophie. 08459 455 555. In a few minutes, we're going to find out what story Sophie Solaria has come up with. We set her a challenge. Go to Kempston, find us a story. Well, apparently, she's got one. We'll discuss more after the latest news and sport with Catherine Boyle.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, it's 8:30. The headlines: a St Albans campaigner has won his fight to give police new powers to tackle drivers found to have dangerously bad eyesight. Barclays Bank has announced it's cutting 3,700 jobs. Just over half of those will go from its UK-based investment banking division. And a Luton politician is hitting out at parents who take no interest in their children's education. Jackie Burnett says GCSE results will only improve if mums and dads get involved.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
England are now batting in the second 2020 international against New Zealand in Hamilton, and a short time ago they were 47 for 5, chasing a target of 193. Meanwhile, in football, MK Dons are away to Doncaster tonight in League One. Luke Chadwick will start, having come on as a sub in the defeat at Oldham on Saturday. By the manager's own admission, the Dons were poor at the weekend, but Carl Robinson says his players know what's expected of them.
The players sometimes have got to stand up and be counted, as well as the staff has, but I think, I always have been quite honest and open with you. We've been very honest and open this morning, had frank discussions, and some of them I spoke to yesterday as well. And I think they understand what it takes, and there's no rocket science to it.
Also in League One tonight, Stevenage are at Brentford without goalkeeper Steve Arnold, who was sent off at the weekend. In League Two, Wycombe Wanderers are due a pitch inspection at 9:30 this morning to determine whether their match against Bradford City at Adams Park will go ahead. And Luton Town's Scott Rundell has picked up the FA Player of the Round award for his fourth round FA Cup performance against Norwich. Rundell came off the bench to score the winner against the Premiership club and could feature in tonight's conference match at Dartford. The Hatters are currently 14 points from the one automatic promotion spot, and their manager Paul Buckle knows his side had to improve on their away form.
What we must do now is get on a run away from home, because it's still all to play for massively. The league tells a false picture, in my opinion, with us having so many games in hand. You'd really like those games to come, games in hand to come now.
And that's the latest news and sport. More from me at 9 o'clock.
On FM, AM and online. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. It's 8:30, 8:32 to be precise, and here till 9 o'clock, and then Jonathan Vernon Smith will take over, and it's always a joy to listen to him. Lots coming up in the last 30 minutes, including reporter Sophie Solaria has been sent on a secret mission. She needs to find a story in Kempston by 9 o'clock. Haven't heard from her in a while. I'm worried. She said she was loitering outside the recycling. Then she was going to go to the doctor's or the post office, but I don't think they were open. Well, apparently she's got a story. We'll find out what it is in a moment. And another thing we're talking about before 9 is about this dog grooming shop in Hertfordshire. It's shaving patterns into dogs. I'll be speaking to a psychologist to find out what effect it will have on the dog. Yeah, let me read that sentence to you one more time. I'll be speaking to a psychologist to find out what effect it will have on the dog. Now, just after 6, I sent our reporter Sophie Solaria on a secret mission. She had to pick a place name out of a hat, go to that place and find me a story before 9 o'clock, or else she's fired. I've added the point you might be fired, Sophie.
Thanks for that
Just to create a bit of tension.
Yeah.
Well, the place that you picked was Kempston.
I did.
And the last time we spoke, you were loitering by the recycling bins. Did anything happen there, Sophie?
I don't know if it was loitering.
Well, you were loitering,
All right,
yes.
I was loitering. Okay.
Yes. So what did you get any stories about recycling?
No.
Oh.
That was a red herring.
Okay.
Doctors were closed,
Yes,
as was the post office.
They would
Spoke
be.
to a few people buying some shopping from the local co.
It's not a story.
No, that was true.
Yeah.
So I asked them where to go. What shall I do? They said, you're in the wrong place. You're in the quiet part of Kempton.
Hey.
Go up the road, go to the high street where Sainsbury's is, have a little chat round there.
Yeah.
Well, it took a bit of time to get here, but I finally managed it.
Good
and I
for
had
you.
a little walk around, and I ended up in an MOT garage.
Here we
I
go.
know this sounds strange,
Yeah.
but found a man that had lost a lot of weight, and then I found another man who's won a lot of motocross championship bike riding things.
Yeah.
Then I found a man who I got my story from.
So you didn't get the story from the former fat man or the motocross champion?
Nearly.
Ooh.
You nearly had the story of a former fat man.
Oh, I hope this is a good one. Let's have a listen.
Jeremy, I meet you here. You're a resident of Kempston.
Yes.
And so you're telling me now about your faith. You encouraged your son to learn Polish to spread the word of your faith. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Well, yes, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we have a ministry. We call on people in their houses to talk about what the Bible teaches and encourage them to look into the Bible. And with the growing Polish community in Bedford, my son asked our minister that looks after the door-to-door work which language would be best to learn if he wanted to learn a foreign language, and he was told Polish. So Daniel, with the encouragement of myself and my wife, and threw himself into learning Polish, which was a difficult language to learn. Even people that he calls on that are Polish-speaking say, why on earth did you learn Polish? It's so hard. And he did find it very difficult to begin with, but his motivation was to help Polish-speaking people in the Bedford community to be able to listen to our message about looking into the Bible to find out what it really teaches.
It's huge dedication.
Yes, it was very difficult, especially at first, and he just sort of taught himself with a couple of Polish people that he met, sort of help him from time to time to understand different words and phrases and how to put the vocabulary together. But he just sort of learnt from books and a CD that he got, and it was very hard to begin with, but he was determined, and he's had good success at it.
How's he doing? Yeah, is he fluent yet? I mean, how long's he been learning?
It's about 5 years now, and he's pretty fluent. He can hold conversations with people, and Polish people that he's called on sometimes think that he's Polish because of his ability to speak the language.
Won't he find it quite hard? I understand there's a lot of Polish people in Kempston and Bedford and indeed Luton, but many of them are Catholic.
Yes, so to a degree the response perhaps isn't always what you want it to be, because you can't always get people to talk because they just say, well, I'm Catholic, and that's the end of the conversation. But he has had lots of interesting calls on people that have wanted to know more, and he's helped a few people to learn more from the Bible, so it's certainly been worthwhile.
So essentially learning Polish has been a bit of a success for you and for Daniel?
Oh, definitely, yes, very much so.
What are you hoping to achieve overall in Kempston with this skill?
Well, the more people that can be of the Polish community, Polish-speaking community, that can be called on to be encouraged to look into the Bible to find out what it really teaches, and the more they conform their lives to what it says, the better our community will be.
You must encounter some negative response from your work.
Yes, of course. Not everyone's pleased to see us when we call at their door. And we respectfully, we'll leave them if they don't want to talk. But we find many people willing to have a conversation with us, to share their viewpoint and to listen to what we have to say.
Finally, Jeremy, you must be very proud of your son for learning Polish and being so dedicated.
Yes, of course, yes, and he's done very well, and we're very, very pleased, yes.
Hey, he's done very well. You've done very well, Sophie. That was brilliant.
So the story is a Jehovah's Witness sent his son to learn Polish so he can spread the word of his faith through Kempston.
You're fantastic. How did you just go up to this fella and his story tumbled out of his mouth?
I kind of asked a few more leading questions, like, who are you? What do you do? What do you stand for? Yeah. Tell me something good. I've got half an hour.
Wow. Did you record the interview with that guy that used to be fat?
I am going back to record it because I know now you want it.
I wouldn't mind listening to it on my iPod on the way home. Thank you very much. Sophie, excellent work. Your job is safe. Come back, please. We'll see you later.
See ya.
There we go, Sophie Solari, who rose to that challenge magnificently, I think. Well done, her. We sent her out with nothing apart from her talent to get a story. No, and she did, and she got a cracking one. Superb stuff. Thank you.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is BBC Three Counties Radio.
I'm talking about this all morning. A dog grooming shop in Hertfordshire claims to be the first in the country to offer what they call pooch tattoos. Jessica Allegri and Amanda Marshall from Groomers on the Green in Brookmans Park came up with the idea when they were bored one day. But they're not sort of proper ink tattoos. They're more patterns that are shaved into the dog's fur. Louise Lucy has had her Shih Tzu, cross a Pomeranian called Ted, shaved. She opted for a simple paw print. Louise?
Hello?
You got your dog shaved, did you?
I did get my dog shaved.
And why did you decide to do that?
Because it's something more exciting than getting, like, when you can dye the dog, stuff like that. It will grow through. It won't harm them in the long run or anything like that. or the short run either.
How about the medium run?
No, not that either.
Okay, well that's good. But why? But aren't dogs? Aren't they beautiful enough? Why do we need to tamper with them and use them like this?
Why? So why do they? But that's the exact same as a dog just getting shaved all over.
Well, it's not, is it? Because some dogs are shaved because their hair grows too long, and it's to keep it out of their eyes and stop it getting dirty.
Yeah, but it's also dogs also get shaved to shave their body because that's the shape that the owner wants them.
Okay, but getting like when you had a paw print, did you shaved onto Ted?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
do you think Ted likes it?
Obviously, he can't see it, but where everyone's coming up to him and giving him attention at the park and that, he really would. He had a hop in his step as he was walking about.
Yeah. Did you not try to show it? You know, like when you go to the barbers and they hold a mirror up behind your head. Did you not try and do that?
No, he doesn't understand his reflection just yet.
Does he not?
No.
And you'll be keeping this pooch patch, will you? You're going to go back for more?
I will. I'll be getting it done next week, actually, because his is all grown out and it looks... there was never anything there.
Supposing your mum or your dad took you to the barbers and they shaved a heart in the back of your head.
Well, a lot of my friends have got that done in the side of their head.
Right.
So
you wouldn't mind? You'd like it?
Well, it's a bit different because I'm a human and I can say whether or not I like that.
Exactly, Louise. And he can't say whether or not he likes it.
But he doesn't understand it, so it's not going to affect him.
OK, Louise, listen, thank you very much. We can find out whether dogs do understand having the One Direction logo shaved into their back, because we can speak now to Dr. June McNicholas, who's a psychologist who has researched the emotional bonds that people have with their pets. Morning, Dr. June.
Good morning.
Why would someone do this to their pet?
Well, I think it's nothing new to see pets as extensions of their owners, and very often it is an extension of their personality or making a social statement about themselves. I'd actually be quite interested to know, and I know you can't tell me, how many of the owners who have these little shaved patterns on their dogs actually have tattoos themselves.
Isn't that interesting? Yes.
Because we've seen the increase in, I suppose, personal adornment, whether it's piercing or tattoos on people, as a personal statement with their pet. It would almost seem the next logical step for them to say, well, actually, I'm going to have maybe even a matching shave that matches one of my tattoos.
You've researched the bond that people make with their pets. And listen, I've got a cat. I love my cat, and she gets Christmas presents. It's her birthday coming up next month. She's going to be 14 years old. And boy, we're going to celebrate that. But, you know, I say celebrate it. I'll get her a little ball with a bell in and some posh food. But some people spend fortunes on their pets, don't they?
Oh, they do. I have come across a lady who spent at least £2,000 on outfits for her dog.
On clothes?
On clothes, yeah.
And what were they? Like Jimmy Choos or dungarees or dresses?
It could be anything from a special raincoat to something that made him dressed up for Halloween, Christmas, whatever. What the dog thought about it, I really don't know. But this was something that the owner... I mean, clearly this sort of thing is done for the owner and not the dog.
I'm going to make a suggestion that I would imagine you probably couldn't possibly comment on. That person's mental. They're mental, buying clothes like Father Christmas outfits and raincoats and jumpers for their dog. That's bonkers.
Well, I mean, on a personal level, I would agree with you.
Right. Good.
On a commercial level, there must be an awful lot of people who have that choice with their pets, because you can go into any of the big pet superstores and actually find clothes for your dog. Admittedly, they are apparently for smaller dogs. I think I would yet find anything to fit any of my dogs. And I certainly don't think one of my dogs would accept being shaved without some comment on his own behalf. But at the end of the day, it is clearly something that people do. And again, it's nothing new. People lavish, diamond collars. And again, it's a social statement. It's saying, here I am, I love my pet, I've got lots of money. Or it might even be at the level of, you know, a young macho guy with a big tough dog making a social statement that he wants people to think about him. This is the sort of person I am.
That he does have a big willy. That's what a lot of the dogs are, isn't it? They're replacements, aren't they, for that?
I can't possibly comment on that, not having done any personal research.
That's your next research. Dr. June,
that's
that's your next project, is to go and investigate that for us, and we'll speak in 6 months. Thank you very much, Dr. June McNicholas. I've given her a project there. I may have said a word I'm probably not allowed to say on the radio. I apologise if anyone's offended. I'm sure you'll be fine with that. A psychologist. It's interesting, isn't it? I just feel sorry for animals when I see them dressed up. I just think it's disrespectful, isn't it? 08459 455 555 8:45 on the button. Here's the travel news now with Sophie Tyler.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Heading north on the A6141, that's the High Street heading through Baldock. We are still getting reports that there's hazardous driving conditions due to an oil spillage a little bit earlier around Bell Row. The Barnet Bypass heading south also still queuing between Stirling Corner and Mill Hill Circus, and the A10 heading south also slow between Turnford and Winston Churchill Way. And moving on to the motorways, southbound on the M1, more delays between junction 14 at Milton Keynes, also looking fairly slow at the moment anti-clockwise on the M25 all the way through from junction 21 at the M1 to 15 at the M4. Going to take you an hour to get through that stretch, I'm afraid. Everything else, though, not looking too bad. Usual delays for this time in the morning, but again, nothing that's going to be holding you up for too long. Trains and tubes are still looking good. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Sophie. Right, 8:46, Tuesday the 12th of February. These are your headlines this morning on BBC Three Counties Radio. A St Albans campaigner has won his fight to give police new powers to tackle drivers found to have dangerously bad eyesight. Barclays Bank has announced it's cutting 3,700 jobs. Just over half will go from its UK-based investment banking division. In sport, Wycombe Wanderers will have a pitch inspection at 9:30 this morning to determine whether tonight's match against Bradford City goes ahead. Coming up almost every day for the past week or so, there's been a new beef product that's turned out to contain horse meat. We'll find out the latest products to be affected before 9 o'clock. But before that, let's get the weather with Kate Kinsella.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, it looks all across the region like temperatures are around 0 or -1, so a bit of frost out there this morning. There's also a bit of brightness, some thinner cloud out there, which means some hazy sunshine this morning, but it is predominantly cloudy as we head through the day. Now, snow and sleet-wise, we can't rule it out. There could be the odd flurry out there, but not so much as yesterday, and the wind is a little bit lighter as well. It does still blow from the northeast, so it will still feel very cold. Now, temperatures aren't actually going to get too much warmer than they are right now. We're looking at a maximum later of 2 Celsius, 36 degrees in Fahrenheit. Overnight, the cloud will start to break up. That's going to allow the temperatures to drop down below 0. -2 the minimum expected, so a hard frost and some icy surfaces tomorrow. Now, because the cloud will start to move towards dawn tomorrow, it means we could even see some sunshine first thing, so not too bad to scrape your windscreens off. However, that sun won't last forever. We've got some cloud rolling in, and with it, some sleet and snow towards the latter part of tomorrow afternoon. Maximum temperature tomorrow is cold, 3 Celsius, 37 degrees in Fahrenheit. Now, that sleet and snow I was mentioning, as we head overnight, the air is coming from the southwest, so it's a little bit milder, so that sleet and snow will turn progressively to rain. That will continue all night. It will become windy, and it will stay right the way through Thursday as well, but that's your forecast.
Thank you very much, Kate.
Weekdays from 3. Local news.
Campaigners are holding a protest against a wind turbine that could be built near the Buckinghamshire village of Ford.
Discussion.
And we were told when he was 5 days old that the only way for him to have a life outside of a wheelchair would be to have a through-knee amputation at the age of 1.
Debate.
Coming up after 6, we've got an hour discussing business and finance. Later in the show, it's all about the entertainment world. It's the family and lifestyle debate. It's our politics panel discussing how politics affects us.
Roberto Peroni. Weekdays from 3 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. I'm here every weekday morning, 6 till 9 o'clock. We know we're getting more and more new people listening to us, so welcome. After me at 9, it's Jonathan Vernon Smith, who's a cracking listen. I thoroughly recommend it. Now, almost every day, for the past week or so, there's been a new beef product that's turned out to contain horse meat. In the past 24 hours, it's emerged that some of Tesco's everyday value spaghetti bolognese contained more than 60% horse meat. And although various investigations are still ongoing to work out what's been going on, it's likely that the UK isn't the only country selling the contaminated products. We can speak now to our reporter, Gavin Lee, who is across developments for us. Morning, Gavin. There's a meeting. The European Union have called a meeting. What's going to happen at this?
Yeah, the Horse Meat Summit.
Wow.
Bizarre, isn't it? A beggar's belief, really. But this is how far it's going. Well, but basically, they've agreed to it today. It's going to be later in the week. And it's because the French factory Comigel, partly down to this, they've been supplying ready meals not just for Findus, as we know, up to 100% in their lasagnas of horse meat, but they've been supplying ready meals for 16 countries, including companies like Tesco and Aldi as well. So there's a bigger potential fallout of this if there are others that ultimately have been contaminated too. I think the likely outcome is going to be obligatory labelling of origins for processed meats. So if you go into a supermarket at the moment, if you go to see chicken or pork or get turkey, whatever, if it's unprocessed, you can see where it's from, Holland or Germany or UK. If it's a ready meal, you don't. So that could change. The other thing, there's a separate meeting today, Owen Paterson, the Environment Secretary, meeting with food industry executives. The likely outcome of that is going to be, we believe, a 3-month spot check. So basically random checking of particular foods to make sure that the supermarkets are selling what it says they should be.
Another beef product has tested positive for horse meat in the past 24 hours. What's the advice on eating this food? Should people carry on eating processed beef products?
Well, the government's advice is that people can continue to buy it. It's not a health risk so far, and I say that because there are more results expected on Friday of other foods, but it's a food labelling issue, so that's up to people if they want to. There's no reason why not. However, you do wonder, how many people listening this morning might go out later on and buy something or be put off by it. And you mentioned the latest. This is the everyday value spaghetti bolognese at Tesco, or Nagbol, as the papers are calling it this morning. 60% of horse meat found in 3 of their products tested. Briefly, I'll mention, Ian, that it came from the same French factory that produced the Findus beef lasagna, and there are another 2 Aldi products made in the same factory that have been tested. Results expected tomorrow.
How likely is it that even more shops and suppliers are going to get caught up in this?
Well, we are expecting, we are being told to expect more bad news. We don't know. But I guess there is so much work around at the moment for lab testers because, dozens and dozens of not just companies, but journalists are doing the same thing right now and testing as much as they can.
Gavin, listen, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to talk to you. I tell you what they need to do. You remember years ago, it was about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, the BSE scandal, and John Gummer, who was a politician, got his daughter to eat a burger. There's a picture of him kind of forcing a burger on his young daughter, although she's 6 years old, basically saying, yay, whoa, it's all right. 1990 it was, wasn't it? It's all right. Look, I would even let my 6-year-old daughter eat one of these burgers. Well, she's probably old enough now. She should force him to eat a Findus crispy pancake. She should get him to eat something, some kind of parental revenge. Saying, yeah, you made me eat that burger on telly, now you're going to have a Tesco's value sausage. Try that for size, Dad. See how you get on with that. We've been asking all morning about the Pope. The Pope resigning. It's on the front pages of all the newspapers. The first Pope to resign in 600 years. And I remember hearing yesterday, I was driving home and I heard it on the radio. Oh, the Pope's resigned. Jonathan announced it just after 11, I think. He said, the Pope's resigned. I remember thinking, oh, that's exciting. It's a big story. And I thought, actually, is it really that big? It just sounds like a big story. We've been asking all morning, is anybody bothered by the Pope resigning? And it's been a resounding silence on the telephones. There's no impact. We've had a text. Alan in Luton. I'm not at all religious, so the Pope's resignation means nothing to me at all. I would imagine we have some Catholics listening to this show. You've got 5 minutes, 08459 455 555, to let me know. Are you bothered by the Pope resigning? Now, earlier on, is Alex back? That's exciting. Earlier on, we've been talking about this whole papal thing, and I put out that I'd heard that years ago there was a Pope Joan. She was a lady Pope. She tricked everyone into thinking that she was a bloke, and then when she died, they went, she's a lady. And so to make sure they would never get caught out again, they had a a papal chair, where they the Pope would sit on it and wear no pants, and someone would reach around and find out if it was a gentleman or not. Well, Alex Strangeways Booth is not only our religious affairs correspondent, she's also a darn good sport. And Alex, you've come back on, and I appreciate this. Thank you so much. I know you have far more important things to talk about this morning. Have you done some research? Does this papal chair actually exist?
I have done a minimal amount of research, but even a minimal amount of research reveals the fact that it's a complete myth.
Oh, it's not true?
Well, historians, it was a story that was spread around in kind of the 1250s, and I think at that time there were a lot of anti-popes and people setting themselves up as popes. And in fact, I think you'll find that the last pope who resigned, to tie in with the news story today,
you're good, yes,
had to resign because there was a big split in the Catholic Church, and there were sort of 3 popes all at once.
Wow.
And I think it sort of ties in with that, and the myth spread that one of them was a woman who maybe came from Britain. She maybe came from Germany, so she was a darned foreigner, and she managed to rise right up into the highest office and became Pope, and was only discovered when she gave birth while riding a horse through the streets of Rome.
But that didn't actually happen. That's myth.
Most historians say that is actually a myth.
That's disappointing.
And as for the papal chair, there is absolutely no evidence for its existence, and they think it maybe centres around some ancient Roman chairs, thrones which had holes in them that appeared somewhere.
Why would they have holes in them?
Well, not so that they could check whether the Pope was a woman or not.
No. Well, Alex, when you say you did minimal research...
Sorry, Ian.
No.
Have I spoiled your morning?
No, because I'm going to insist on believing this. I've got to... Because when you say you researched it, did you just go to Wikipedia?
Yes.
Oh, Alex, you're my new favourite person.
No. In all fairness, I went to Wikipedia because honestly, there isn't really anywhere else where anything is written about it.
Oh dear.
And that I think tells its own tale.
Alex, you're a really good sport. I really appreciate you doing that for me. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Alex Strangeways Booth there, who is the religious affairs correspondent, darn good sport, and my new favourite correspondent. Can we find a religious story every week just to get Alex on to make up for that? I'm going to insist on believing that, though. I'm not letting that one go. There is a papal chair, and the next pope will have to sit on it. And someone will check. I keep doing the hand movement. I don't quite know why. That's no good at all. Well, there we go. I think we've laid that one to rest. That turns out that's actually a myth. It's sad when you find these things out. Most of the good things in the world, it would appear, are myths. I've believed that for years. Someone told me that at school about that, and I've believed that for years. And now I'm kind of a little bit... I'm a little bit deflated. I might have to get a really strong coffee after the show to give me some sort of boost to make up for it. Well, listen, there we go. That's the end of all that nonsense. We can put that to one side. And I have to say a very big thank you this morning to Sophie Solaria, who was set a challenge. The reason we set the challenge is we had a brilliant story where she was going to go and put her ear down in the snow and listen to a witch tossing a pancake or something like that. And that fell through. And we were a little bit, how do we get out of this one? What can we do? And the brilliant idea was put forward that we would send her out to find a story. And I think it worked. She found a Jehovah's Witness who got his son to learn Polish. They're not Polish. Oh, that would be too easy. Who got his son to learn Polish so that they could spread the word to the Polish community, most of whom happen to speak English excellently, I hasten to add. I don't want to rain on that poor lad's Polish parade, but he probably could have got the message across just as effectively. Do you really need to learn Polish to have a door slammed in your face? I don't know how effective that is, but what a brilliant story. So I'm giving double thumbs up. The Thumbs Up Fun Award goes to Sophie Solaria today for making an extra effort and finding a story where there was none. Right, here's the travel news now. Sophie Tyler.
Beds, hearts and bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Looking at delays heading north on the M1 between junction 13 at Milton Keynes South and 14 at Milton Keynes, and southbound 25-minute delays as well between 15 at Northampton and 14 at Milton Keynes. Speed there down to around 30 miles an hour. Also looking very slow still anti-clockwise on the M25, where we have delays between junction 21 at the M1 and 15 at the M4. It's going to take you about an hour to get through that stretch, I'm afraid. The earlier problems we had heading north through Baldock have since returned to normal. Looks like it's moving nicely there now at the moment. Heading south though on the A1, we are looking at delays on the Great North Road between the St Neots Junction and the Black Cat roundabout. Barnet Bypass also still queuing between Stirling Corner and Mill Hill Circus. Trains and tubes are looking good this morning, however. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Excellent stuff, Sophie. I think there's a darn good show today. I'd give it 7 out of 10. Means we can do better, but you've not been robbed. You've got your money's worth. Back tomorrow at 6. JVS is up next. Till tomorrow. Ta-ta.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Iain. Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon Smith. It's Tuesday, and on today's Big Phone-In, I'm asking, should 70-year-olds have to take another driving test? A man from Hertfordshire